Greetings and gratitudes, family. We're gonna let some people get on this thing. What's up, Nikki? What's up, Millie? Lyric, Nisha, Ebony. What's up, Ebony? What do y'all got going? Oh, what up, oh Yancy? Come on through. Come on through. Let's have the conversation. What up, Air Child? What's up, Cole Brady? Nick T, mods and family. The chat is going fast. Ambi Love, Sukarita, Rara 215, Desiree Pruitt, Michelle Ross, Korea, the sweetheart. I got some tea, but I also got some tea. Y'all gotta excuse it all. Excuse it all. Don't go there. Y'all, let's talk about it. So, gratitude to one of our cousins who sent me some very valuable information that validates me. Every time, it seems like every time I feel like I am questioning myself, my sanity, am I doing the right things? Like, I haven't put classes up because, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, are people still even interested in the information that they would even, and plus I'm like trying to pass the holidays because I know a lot of y'all still celebrate these holidays. And so I'm just trying to pass the holidays as well. But I know that I question myself a lot. But this person, and I don't even know, they didn't even give me their name. Let me see if I can find the name because I don't even. Okay, let me see. Let me see. Okay. Wait a minute. Let me just see. That's the same person. No. Listen, I don't even know who the fuck. I don't even know who sent this to me. But they're probably going to be on here. So if this is you, just let me know because our deities have been demonized. And a lot of times, a lot of our people are still standing in and under the Jesus energy and programming. Now, I know it is very difficult. When I started this walk of understanding the understanding, um, you said, is it the white man talking? What are you talking about? Is it the white man talking? When when I started this walk, I knew that I had to let go of certain things. I had to let go of the programming. Why did I know that? Because that's what they told me. They said you must forget everything that you think that you know. In order for you to gain understanding of the understanding, we about to go into it. Please get pens and papers or whatever the fuck you need. Please screen record because we about to go in. It's class time. Spirit said you have to let go of everything that you think that you know, because everything that you have been taught traditionally is a lie. And I said, okay. It was very difficult because I was a hard to the core Jesus believer, Christian. I didn't even like the word Christian, but I was hard to the core. I've told y'all this many times. Toddy couldn't even snap her fingers to gospel music. For me, it was sacrilegious. I was a Bible thumper. Um, that what are you talking about, Candy Kendricks? What are you talking about? Don't distract my chat. That's not what we're talking about. Don't distract my chat. We are getting ready to go into something deep here because I've been called a liar. I've been told that I just saw somebody's comment yesterday. Somebody was almost being scammed and she posted what she thought was me and pretty much was like, what this lady on, she's saying all this shit to me. And somebody said, yeah, you have to be careful of the information that you take in because people got them out here praising all kind of deities. The word deity means God. You are under the Jesus programming, believing that there is one God, and that is you are Jesus. However, they've taught you that he is the Lord. Lord is a human person of authority. Now, when you're talking about God, you give God the reverence. Oh, the God, the creator, that's what y'all give of reverence. Hamdu Allah, right? Praise God. Hamdu Allah. And so all of that falls under the Jesus narrative of that programming and of that teaching. You've been taught never to question it. You were taught that by Pope the Ninth, because he set into place something that is called the dogma, and I believe it's the ninth. Please, if you understand it's a different pope like the 12th, let me know. I am not without fault, okay? But I believe it is Pope the Ninth. He set into play the dogma, the story of Mary, the Virgin Mary, and everything, okay? It's always to instill fear, okay? It definitely is. It's always to instill fear. Um, is to make you not question, make you not understand your power, to keep you blind, dumb, and deaf to what is really happening, to who you really are, right? Sorry, my allergies, child, but I got them under control so far. Now, I'm going to show you some shit because this person validated some shit for me that I never thought could be validated. People told me I made these deities up. They said that I made up these deities. But yet, every time I turn around, we see them. I'm going to start with something different than I was going to start with. But I'm going to start with this. So let me just see. Okay, I'm going to show you a multitude of pictures. Um, and I just want you to follow along with me of what I'm saying to you. This is what is called the cherubim. Okay, this is a cherubim, right? One portion of it. And then this is also a cherubim. That is the human, the lion, the falcon, or the phoenix, um, and then the oxen. Okay. There are many, many pictures of this particular cherubim that you may see everywhere. Okay. They don't go in to tell you why they honor this cherubim, which is a lion, right? It's everywhere. It is everywhere. I'm going to show you some more just a second because man, this lady, whoever sent me this shit, it, listen, gratitude, gratitude. They're always giving praise and honor to the lion. Even when you, again, you're looking into the religion or the sector of Judaism, Judah, right? They praise the mighty lion. This shit stretches back. This is, look at this. This is in a museum, the Lion Man. This is in a museum. Okay. They have so many depictions. Okay. They don't tell you why they have these depictions. They're everywhere. Some of y'all are new to me, so you don't know that I have traced this back long time, long time, long time. Ooh, makes my spirit feel some type of way. Woo! I am not crazy. There's a reason that they honor. There's a reason that they honor him. Look at it. Look at it. There's a reason. They're not going to tell you why. They're not going to tell you why. Okay? People said I took the Loa Papa Candelo and I added other fake deities to it to make it credible to what I'm saying. What this person sent me today, I have never seen in my life. But it fucked me up in a sense that I know that the deities are real. When I was introduced to the deities, they told me that their energy has been used for nothing but evil and negative workings. And they're tired of being used and demonized in such a way. I'm going to show y'all some shit, what this lady sent me, and I'm going to read you some shit. I'm so mad I cannot find the text message. Of what was sent to me. I'm going to find it. Just give me a second because I want to read you what she sent. Here it is. Bam. And I just went to this and then anyway. Let me see if I can see what the name is of who sent this. Her name is Tierra. Tierra. I was trying to see if she put her YouTube name up. Akia Knight. That is who this is. Akia Knight sent me this. Real name is Tierra. She sent me this today at 5:25 a.m. She says, Grand Rising Quatita, I just seen your post with the ritual they doing. I heard the war with them is lost anyway. There are supposed to be 3 creatures, Godzilla size, supposed to cause destruction here. If you can, look into these names. Ziz, Leviathan, and Behemoth. They made movies about them. Leviathan is the most dangerous and indestructible one down in the ocean. Now that could rise at any time. The sea animals are running from something that is coming soon. People have been talking about it. I listen, I could shout, jump, run through this motherfucker because I told everybody they're demonizing them. They're demonizing them. So you don't know who they are. So you don't use their energy. So you don't use their power. I told you Leviathan was Poseidon, the god of the sea. I told you that. I've never heard of Leviathan before in my life. So I did some research on it. This is what I found. Leviathan in the book of Job is a reflection of the older Canaanite Lotan, a primal a, a primal monster defeated by the god Baal Hadad. B-A-L Baal. Baal. Anybody know who the fuck Baal is? Please tell me you know who Baal is. Okay. Okay. Just talked about him, Charming T. Yes. It could be pronounced Baal or Baal. I understand. We're not talking about the pronunciation. Gratitude. I was taught that the name is Baal. It is also pronounced Baal, Bael, or Beal. I understand. That's not what I'm asking. Gratitude, though. Child sacrifices. I'm about to break this down for you. It's Beelzebub. Okay. Now, it says that primal monster defeated. They called Leviathan a monster. Okay, a creature, a monster defeated by the god Baal. Parallels to the role of Mesopotamian Tiamat, defeated by Marduk, have long been drawn in comparative mythology, as have been wider comparisons to dragon, the world serpent. Narratives such as Indra slaying Vitra or Thor slain, I can't pronounce that word. Leviathan also figures in the Hebrew Bible as a metaphor for a powerful enemy, notably Babylon. Isaiah 27 and 1. Some 19th century scholars pragmatically interpret it as referring to a large aquatic creature, such as the crocodile, which I have on my altar, and I just thought I had it just because it represented the waters of Louisiana, the bayou, not realizing why they had me get this fucking crocodile that's on my altar. Okay. Now, the word later came to be used as a term for great whale or for a sea monster in general. Now, with the way they worded this, they want you to see Leviathan as a monster, a hideous creature that is only for harm. that was defeated by the god Baal or Baal. So you will see and look at Baal or Baal as a good god. Do you understand what I'm saying? But we understand that Baal, is what they sacrifice children to, right? Levionite works with and covers what? Those who've been in my classes. Levionite works with and covers what? When you have a situation going on, what situation do I say to call out to Levionite for? Because he works with what? Children. 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 And Baal, they sacrifice children too. They're telling you that Levionite, was defeated by a god named Baal. But we know that that's who they sacrifice children to. But they've already told you that he is an indestructible creature. This is another part of that. It says Leviathan is a sea serpent noted in theology and mythology. It is referenced in several books of the Hebrew Bible, including Psalms, the book of Job, the book of Isaiah, the book of Amos, and according to some translation, in the book of Jonah. It is mentioned in the book of Enoch. The Leviathan is often an embodiment of chaos and threatening to eat the damned after their life. In the end, it is annihilated. Christian theologians identify Leviathan with the demon of the deadly sin, envy. According to Ophiite diagrams, the Leviathan encapsulates the space of the material world. When Leviathan came to me in my dream, he was not what I would have expected for a deity to come. They always come very humbly. His clothes, I said what he had on. He had on like a old 1980 leather jacket with a whole old Hawaiian shirt that wasn't fully buttoned. He had on my Yehuda chain. He had on some jeans that were tethered with some flip-flops. Now I'm understanding he's showing me that he was humble, that it was nothing about material that swayed him. When he came, he caught my attention by saying, "It's Yehuda only." He was telling someone that was walking past, "It's Yehuda only." And it caught my attention. And I said, the whole 70s look, absolutely. I said, did you hear that? Did you hear what he said? How would he know that? Right? But they want you to believe that this indestructible monster creature that we know as the water spirit, one of them, was defeated by a demonic energy that we know to be, but they're painting it as if it's a god, there's something good, but we know that they're sacrificing children in reality to this entity. But people said that I was a liar. The Levionite doesn't exist. That's funny. They said, where's all these deities at in the Bible? Right there. But now they've demonized them. Why would they do that? Oh, because they don't want you to be activated calling on Levionite to help with your family situation, with the children. It's all flipped. It's all flipped. They sent me three names though. It wasn't just that one. They said Ziz. So I looked up Ziz. Ziz is a giant griffin like bird in the Jewish mythology said to be large enough to be able to block out the sun with its wingspan. It is considered a giant animal monster. There's that word again. A giant monster. There's that word again. Corresponding to archetype creatures, rabbis have said that the Ziz is comparable to a Persian Simurgh, while modern scholars compare the Ziz to a Sumerian Inzu and the ancient Greek a phoenix. A phoenix. Really? You mean like in Zinga? You mean like in Zinga? The deity? The phoenix that flies above the Caesar? Oh, but it's a monster. There's only passing mentions of Ziz in the Bible. Why are they mentioning these deities in the Bible if they do not exist? Oh, maybe to demonize them and make you think something other than what the fuck. Okay, air child. It's only found in Psalms 50:11. I know all the birds of the mountain in Ziz Sedeh is mine. And Psalms 80:13 through 14. The boar from the forest ravages it, and Ziz Sedeh feeds on it. And these are often lost in translation from the Hebrew, being referred to in most English translations as ambiguous beasts and referred to as neither singular nor Evian. The Jewish Agadah saying of the Ziz, as Leviathan is the king of fishes, so the Ziz is appointed to rule over the birds. His name, because why? They masculate everything, they make everything masculine. His name comes from the variety of tastes his flesh has. It tastes like this ziz, the zeh, and like that zeh, the ziz is a monstrous of size as Leviathan himself. His ankles rest on the earth, and his head reaches to the very sky. It did once happen that travelers on a vessel noticed the bird. As he stood in the water, it merely covered his feet and his head knocked against the sky. The onlookers thought the water could. I didn't go to the rest of that. Now, we all know what the fuck a phoenix is. They are lying to us, but keep wanting you to be enacted inside of the Jesus programming and energy. Mm. Child, see, we done lost a few people. We done lost a few people. Mm. But it's Yehuda only. Okay. You said he died shortly after for that same comment a little before revealing his two trumps. Who are you talking about? You talking about what we talking about? Who are you talking about? Are you talking about what we're talking about? Basically, the programming doesn't work without consent. Yes, Dick Gregory. You're talking about Dick Gregory. Okay, understood. Okay. He said, look, the X-Men was genome and image. The Phoenix wasn't playing with their asses. That's why. They hide a lot of our shit so you don't belief is consent. Absolutely. They tell you that um they tell you that in order for voodoo to work, obia, y'all always try to correct with some names. It doesn't fucking matter what the name is. You understand what the fucking energy is. That's why our people get so fucking confused and stuck because of the names of what it's called. It's called magic. It's called alchemy. It's called energy. It's called fucking spirit. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. Who gives a fuck what the name is? Because you know where you got the fucking name from? A genome. You know where I get my information from? The fucking spirit. When they lead me to it, I use it. And I say it. I don't need to be corrected because I don't give a fuck. Now, the next one was the Behemoth, a book of creature. Now, this this one floored me. I'm gonna tell you why. The Behemoth is a beast from the biblical book of Job and is form of primeval chaos monster. The monster again, a chaos monster created by God at the beginning of creation. So God is creating monsters. Why would God create monsters? He is paired with the other chaos monster, Leviathan. And according to later Jewish tradition, both would become food for the righteous at the end of time. Metaphorically, the name has come to be used for an extremely large or powerful entity. They made sure not to say a deity, but entity, a creature, a monster. But God created a monster. Let's make it make sense. Let's talk about it one more time. Behemoth is a beast from the biblical book of Job, and is a form of primeval chaos monster created by God at the beginning of creation. He is paired with the other chaos monster, Leviathan. Mm. And according to later Jewish tradition, both would become food for the righteous at the end of time. So God created all of these monsters only to be defeated in the end by entities that children are being sacrificed for. Let's not forget they wanted who they want to sacrifice their child, Abraham. That's who they wanted to sacrifice the child, right? Then said, "Now we just playing. We just want to see if you was gonna do it. If you would really give us your child for the sacrifice, right?" Let's read on, shall we? The name has come to be used for an extremely large or powerful entity. The Hebrew word behemoth has the same form as the plural of the Hebrew noun behemah, meaning beast, suggesting an argumentative meaning great beast. However, some theorize the word might originate from an Egyptian word of the form, the water ox, meaning hippopotamus. No, bitch. No, bitch. No, stop. Stop. Hippopotamus, altered by folk etymology in Hebrew to resemble behemoth. However, this phrase with this meaning is unattested at any stage of Egyptian. Oh, who the fuck is a hippopotamus? Which deity? Because we have a deity that's a hippopotamus that also transform into a unicorn. Aphrodite. Oh, can we look at the pictures of what a behemoth looks like? This is one picture. That is a hippopotamus. Huh? Huh? You know what other picture shows of 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 this behemoth? What that look like? That look like a horse or a unicorn? What else does um Aphrodite and Adonai transform into? They're a rhino and a hippopotamus. Okay, bitch. They're a rhino and a hippopotamus, but they also transform into a unicorn, this much like a horse. But Quatita's a fucking liar? I think the fuck not. I think the fuck not. I think the fuck not. Gratitude to Miss Akia, Miss Tierra. Gratitude for bringing forth the truth of what the fuck I have said. The teachings. Now, Quatita needs to put up the Aphrodite and the Adonai class. Quatita needs to put up the to Teglatron class. You said the hippo was taking them to the afterlife. Why do I need to lie and make up shit? I've never heard of these beings a day in my motherfucking life. Never. I'm just as shocked as everyone else. Complete validation. But they keep demonizing our motherfucking deities. When Levianite came to, in Levianitis, when Levianite came to me in my dream, I said I was looking at his legs because his legs kept shifting, almost like they were coming together like a fin. And he was super tall. He was tall as fuck. And he had teeth. Let me show you something. I said he had teeth. Remember, I said his teeth look like he sucked his thumb. His teeth resembled this. Hey, why does these fish have human teeth? Why do they have human teeth? I'm just trying to understand, huh? There's no lies being told here because I don't need to. I am who the fuck I say that I am. I am that I am. And so the fuck are you? And because they don't want you to know, they want you to stay under the Jesus programming. For all of you who do not understand what I'm saying to you, Jesus is an entity, not a deity, an entity created for oppression and depression and aggression to dehumanize, to demystify the deities, the Loa, the Anunnaki. I had a dream like 2 days ago about the Anunnaki, and I can't even really remember it. It was something about one of them being buried or something. You have to understand why they want you to keep calling on that. But I keep praying and I keep praying. And, I'm not sure if I'm praying correctly. I don't know if Jesus hear me. Oh, that entity definitely picks up your energy when you keep calling on it. And it brings destruction into your life. It brings destruction into your life, oppression into your life. You are still under the programming because you are still believing what the fuck these genomes are telling you. A genome, the haploid set of chromosomes in a, a gamete or microorganism or in each cell of a multicellular organism, the complete set of genes or genetic material present in a cell organism. White people are genomes because Mother Adina said that they are. I had never heard of that word a day in my fucking life, and ever since I introduced you to it, you hear it everywhere. You hear it everywhere, damn near on a daily fucking basis. In the movie, this last one, Jurassic Park, as the genomes are walking, because they are just that, they are microorganisms. They are carbon copies. They are just genetic cells of our original DNA, carbon copies of our Adina. They are missing factors, meaning they don't have souls. We're talking about the original. Now, in my class, my Yosef class, Yosef broke down several sectors. Ever since, I swear to you, I keep seeing the breakdown of this shit. Aryans, anybody was in that class? Aryans, the vampirics, the demons, the dragons, hellhounds, they were broken down. Right? The Aryans was one of them that was broken down, correct? An Aryan, right? Do you remember? Because I'm about to show you something. You wasn't in it, but I have it. Okay. Let me blow my nose real quick, you guys. Hold on. So I can quit sniffling. Let me just blow my nose so we can get on into this. I'm gonna grab me some chips. And cover up this twat. Okay. All right, let me go back and read. Say watchdogs, hellhounds, absolutely. Archons and Dracos, yes. All right. So Malika sent me this a few days ago, and after somebody sent it, it comes to my phone 20 million times. Y'all should ask if I've seen something before. Watch this, or just send me a video. Somebody was just on my face because I just seen freckles on my face. I don't know who the fuck it was, but wherever it is, I keep seeing it. Somebody got freckles because I keep seeing it on my face. Okay. I'm gonna play this video for y'all because I want y'all. I didn't even get to watch it all, but it just seems like everything keeps coming back being validated. Let me just go here and do it this way. Child, where is it at? Hold on, hold on. Child, where is this at? You don't tell me it's gone. No way. It done started me all over. Wait a minute. Don't tell me the video is gone. I'm gonna have to look it up a different way. Cause she just sent it. I was watching it the other day. Now it's not even in our thread. Wait a minute. Y'all. I'm gonna have to look it up via YouTube. No, it's not even in here. Well, now I got to look it up via YouTube. Hold the fuck up. It's not even in our thread. And Malika knows she sent this to me the other day. And I know a lot of y'all already seen it. Here it is. It's not in our thread anymore. That's funny because they've been deleting our text threads again.
This is Rudolf from Germany. I am addressing today specifically Afro-American people. I might be probably the first white man, Aryan German man, who is admitting something to you. I took a long time to think about this video, which I'm showing you, a very short one.
Key. He said German. We've been talking about them, right?
Many of you, dark-skinned people, in America mainly, have had a suspicion for a very long time. White people are not really human. And this suspicion has been around for a long, long time. And like any suspicion which is around for a long, long time, there is a little bit of truth to it. I want to admit today to you that white people originating from Northern Europe are called not aliens, they are called Aryans. Sorry about that. My brain don't function so well today.
Fucking boom.
These white people are not really human. from this earth, like black people are, Indian people are, Asian people are. Yes, they are all humans. We white people are actually a minority, and we are.
White people are the minority. Said that.
Called the tall whites. Not all of them are. Not all of us are tall. Not all of us are completely white, but in general, that's what it is. And as some of you may know, the tall whites are not really earthly human, but we're coming.
It says this man made this video 7 years ago.
Of another galaxy.
Never seen it until the other day.
We are not human as the rest of the human race. We came here from another star, we white people, in order to control the world. We white people all have a secret code, a secret language under each other. We know, no matter how nice we pretend to be, we all stick together in order to control the other races, particularly the black race. And I am feeling so bad about it by now that I had to speak out here on this video and admit it.
You seen it years ago. You should have shared it years ago then.
Not human. White people.
You seen it and kept the information to yourself?
All stick together, know the truth, which they do not want to admit to you. White people are out of space. We come from another galaxy. We all know our whole
He made this 7 years ago.
Because we don't want to be attacked. And we have no good intention with you. We do not want to share our wealth with you. We do not want to share our knowledge with you. You have been mistreated hundreds of years ago, and this is very, very bad. And your chances in life, to the most of you, many of you have no chance in life. You can sit and wait for work on a corner with your other friends, and work will never arrive.
German man saying white people are aliens is the name of it.
I know. And we rich people, white people, we alien people don't want to share what we have with you, so you have a good time. This is my testimony in public. White people are for another planet. We white people all know it, and I want to apologize for everything what happened through our bad behavior to you. This is your Rudolph. Have a nice day.
This was 7 years ago. It says that he made this video. I had not received this video until a few days ago. That is now gone out of my text thread for whatever the fuck reason. However, I love when people say, I've been seeing that, but you didn't share it. Therefore, you are accountable for the damage that was done when you didn't share it. I'm glad that we can take accountability for our lack of helping one another. So the been seen it. You should have been shared it. You should have been spoke on it. Gratitude for the accountability, though. When are we going to actually start putting it together? When are we actually going to start sharing the information we've been seeing? Because when Quatita sees it, Quatita brings it to the light. Quatita brings it to the forefront. Quatita makes a declaration about it. Too busy under the Jesus programming, not want people to think you crazy. I call genomes to their face all the time. Once I learned it, the spirit says, stop calling them white people. Adina said they are genomes. They are the Luciferian chromosonian children, cut from the nucleus, used and spliced from the Adina gene, the Eve gene, and the atom. I'm not fucking playing with you or nobody else. I don't give a fuck what you've been doing. You teach it, you share it, you bring it to the forefront, or you don't fucking bring it to my chat. Everybody want to look intelligent. I don't give a fuck what you know. I don't. I don't care what you know. I care what you share. I care what you teach. I care what we do with the information that we've been new. Then they want to say I'm mean and I'm a bitch. No, I'm not. I'm accountable. Are you? Are you? Because your Bible says once you know it, you're accountable for what you know, aren't you? That's what your Bible say. We know how y'all love the Bible. Excuse me. I've never introduced nobody to a Mother Hubbard, so don't ask me if that's true, because if it was true, I would have told you about it. I introduced you to Teglatron. That's my truth. That's what I know it to be. Whatever you know it to be is what you know it to be. The Spirit says Teglatron is what is known in the old text as Yakub, the mad scientist. I don't know nothing about a Mother Hubbard in her cupboard. I don't know. I am not kidding. Again, with you or nobody else. Get out of my chat teaching. That's not what the fuck I said. I don't know. Teach that on your channel. That's not what I've ever said. Gratitude. If that's what belief you have, non-ether, then that's your belief, because I don't know. I've never heard of it, or I would have said it. I'm accountable. We're definitely here to build and to learn. People want me to validate things. I'm not going to ever validate nothing that I don't know. Now, if you can bring it to me, you can tell it to me, I understand. This is what I don't like. If you want to build, absolutely, let's build. When I go into saying something I'm teaching it from the Spirit. I don't like when other people start putting shit in my chat. One, because you're taking away from the attention of what I'm doing. You see how Tiara sent it to me? You send it to me. I'm going to validate it through the Spirit. Then I'm going to bring it. I'm never going to just teach no shit on my motherfucking channel. You can teach that shit on your channel. I'm going to validate the information through the Spirit. I'm never going to allow you to put some shit in my chat that I don't sit right with. I've seen people put things in my chat and I'm like, damn, I did not know that. But my spirit resonates with it, so I don't have a problem with it. People do it all the time. But when I get in and I go in and saying something, I see people just start dropping shit in my chat. Like, that's not what we're talking about. If it's a teaching moment, it's a motherfucking teaching moment, because it's something that I'm teaching on Quatita's channel. Because this is Quatita's channel. Now, you can say, Governance Quatita, have you ever heard? Have you ever seen? That's great, because I learn from people every day, all day long. I'm not even telling you to believe exactly what I'm saying. I believe exactly what the fuck I'm saying. Whatever you believe is what you believe. I love to build. That's what this whole thing was about. I don't like when people come in my chat talking about what the fuck they want to talk about while I'm in the midst of something. There's plenty of conversations that can happen about the like even when she was starting to bring up Dick Gregory and what Dick Gregory says. I like Dick Gregory. He has a lot of valuable information. I like Billy Carson. I like Dr. Delbert Blair. I like Phil Valentine, Dr. Cress Welsing, um, Bobby Hemmett, Red Pill, Blue Pill, Sonetta, Young Pharaoh. However, do you go to their chat and say what the governor said? I don't mind it. Like I had to tell people, stop coming to my chat talking about, every time I start talking about free this man. I believe he should be free. But are y'all going to his programming, his channels, his social media and saying what the governor has said? I'm just saying. These people are very knowledgeable, and I've learned a lot under them. Bobby Hemmett, love him, love him, love him. People think that I don't study. People think that I don't have no knowledge. So it irritates me when they come and start trying to show they're intelligent in my chat. I don't give a fuck. Take it to your channel. Unless you're really trying to build, because I can tell the difference. That's why I don't. I say something to people every time they say I've been knew that. We don't give a fuck about what you've been knew. Did you been shared it? You been accountable for what the fuck you knew? I'm just saying. I'm a person of build. We can definitely do that. But I can tell the difference when somebody, people do it all the time. I love Charming T. That's why I put her on my show. She's a great researcher. She's a great analyst of information. So is Malika. I don't like smarty motherfucking people. They want to be seen. I don't like it because it's egotistical and narcissistic. It's not about the information you bring. It's about that you want people to think you're intelligent. And I don't give a fuck about it. I don't give a fuck about your intelligence. I don't. Now you could put in the chat, Quatita, we did a study group and we was trying to spread the word about, I don't know if you ever heard of, what is that? No, I never heard of that. That's deep. I want you to tell me how you spread it, the knowledge that you already fucking knew. Don't tell me I tried, but people think I'm crazy. I don't give a fuck. You know how many people think I'm crazy? I don't give a fuck. The deities are real. The Loa is real. The Orisha are real. The ancestors, the Gede, the spirit, your soul is real. We all been knew that the soul was real, but did you fucking know that the soul was real? Your soul speaks, your spirit speaks, your cells speak. Everything is living and breathing. Everything. Everything. Exactly, Anitra. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Don't bring your intelligence to my shit because you want to be seen. Bring it because we're building. Many people drop a lot of information in the chat, and I don't go in. I go in when people try to be seen. I don't like it. You want to build, fucking build. Bring that intelligence. Bring your knowledge. Don't bring me your fucking ego. You could even put it in the chat. I'm saying how you putting it in my chat. Make sure it's congruent to what we're talking about. It was more than just these two people that was putting things in the chat as we're going in with this discussion. That's how you build. But again, I could tell the difference. I know what the difference is. I don't give a fuck about nothing else. I learn from people every fucking day. Every day I learn from people. And I love to do it. That's how we come together as a family. I show so much gratitude to this young woman for sending me that. So I know that I'm not motherfucking crazy. I know what they've shown me. I said that Davian Night is over creativity and over fantasy of thought. And that he was an artist. And then he said that, was it Michelangelo? Like his art or something wasn't his. Was it Michelangelo? I believe he said that that was his art. And then he said, I think it was Michelangelo. I can't even think. And he said that that was his art. And then he said, how can he be responsible for all of the great works that were mine that they claiming as his when he was disabled? And I said, disabled. So I had to go in and on the live and do research on the live. And we found that what he was mentally disabled. But we know that these people are thieves. We know that they're thieves. We know that they're liars. But still, yet we keep depending on them to treat us fairly, to give us love, to accept us, to bring us into their circle. We don't need their fucking circle. Why would we ever? Somebody sent me a message to myself. No, go back and finish watching or rewatch Avatar Part 2. Rewatch it because at the end, I don't need to rewatch it. 20 minutes in, I understood the whole movie. I watched Ralph Smart yesterday. He was breaking it down and said how he loved it. He thought it was so great. I don't. And I respect Ralph Smart. Deep divers diving deep. That's his opinion of. And I have mine. To me, Avatar is just them showing you how they infiltrate, how they destroy. And that's all I see. There's never any truth in them, ever. There's no truth in them. Why would we ever trust them to say, to give, to be, to do anything? When I was watching Teal, and I saw that they showed that the men that were helping him and gathering Emmett Till were look like three Melanite men, G9s. As the movie go along, they want the young boy who's seen it, they want him to not say anything. They want him to stay hush about it because they don't want to be named in this tragedy that is Emmett Till. There's two things wrong with that shit. One, another motherfucking declaration of how genomes turn you against self. What would ever make you as an adult kidnap, because that's what happened, a young boy, 14, and kill. Now, when I did Emmett Till, everybody was like, please do Emmett Till, please. I did Emmett Till. I did Emmett Till months ago. I did him at the same time that I did Janiyah Tatum. And he talked about all of the horrible things that they did. And he said it was 6 men that was involved, 6 of them. I'm not aware at the time that 3 of them were Melanite G9s. They did horrible things to this young boy. And they, like, in any movie that you see that the counterpart is a black man, he's always the dumbest. He's the go along. He can never be the fucking hero. Even when you're watching Black Adam, his heroism was demonized. When are you not going to be the fucking villain? 666, the number of the man of the devil. That is your makeup of your fucking melanin. That is meant for you to devilize and hate yourself. I used to hate that number till I understood it. You are the adversary. The word Satan means adversary. You are the adversary. If they're the God, there must be a devil, and it is you. But to us, we are the God and they are the devil. Everything is wrong here. You're always scrutinized. You're always punished more harshly. Jesus is not for you. I don't give a fuck if you put dreads on him and make him black. He's not for you. For me, it's Yehuda, the mighty lion that transformed into a beautiful black man with long locks and a beautiful state of being. The spirit, the governor. The transformation of energy, the frequency. No. We depend so much upon the genome to validate, to give, to be. I was watching the movie Master with Regina Hall. All of the black people, the Melanites, the Genites. If you don't know what a Genite is a Melanite that wants to be a genome, a Genite jigaboo. The little black girl, the little Melanite, she come up to the counter. She hears the Genite speaking as she's traying up their food to all of the genomes. Hey, how are you? How's school going? You love it? Yeah. Oh, it's so great. Yes, good to see you. I'm so happy that you're here. Melanite come up to the counter. She looked at her with a nasty and just threw her food up there. Where's the fucking lie? Where's the lie? It is programming. It is embedded. Everybody does it. I have done it. Everybody does it. Why? Because it's ingrained. It's embedded. It is trained. It's indoctrinated. It's hard to fucking get out of. We're so hard on our own fucking people. I almost hate these motherfuckers for the lies and the way that they have done our people. The training, the harshness. We can't even be good to ourselves. Why? Let me see. Let me see. Let me see here. I see they have some of these in chapters. I'm gonna see how she's breaking it down. Because I want you to.
It's too heavy. I can't read it all at one time. I have to read a little bit at a time and then come back. But I think it takes a while for some people to adjust.
Out of tune with the cosmos. Yeah.
It's a new way of thinking.
A whole new
It's
way.
a completely new way of thinking about a problem. So it takes time, but I am impacted. I'm invited to speak on college campuses and at universities as well as other places. But it moves me almost to tears when I'm not a person that's just breaking down crying, but when somebody says, well, young Black people are not reading. But when these students come to me, Dr. Wilson, will you autograph my book? And I see a book that has been used up.
Like this one here.
You see, like you were right, Danny. That's wonderful. That's marvelous. I mean, that is a book that has been read and digested, and not necessarily doesn't mean that the reader is agreeing with everything, but people are reading the book and thinking, and this is marvelous. I mean, any book. You see, anything that is inspiring young people to read and to think about their lives and think about the world in which they live and think
I want to
about
see
the universe.
Let me see, because I want y'all to hear it.
Edgar Rice Burroughs is one of the largest selling authors in the world. In 1975, his company estimated that more than 150 million in Africa at the age of 9 closed the gaps between them and Lord Greystoke, nursed at the breast of Kala, the Great Ape. It is a short leap through the symbolism to decode that 9 months after conception, a white albino mutant was born to African Black parents and then abandoned. The child, in its anger and alienation, later returns to the scene of its rejection to dominate the Africans and all other non-white peoples. Burroughs stated that the name Tarzan meant white skin in the language of the apes. In the 1929 copyrighted Tarzan at the Earth's Core, 13th in the series, Burroughs explains in more detail. The sun beating down upon his naked body had no such effect upon his skin as would the sun of the outer world under like conditions. But it did impart him
This is
a
from
new
the.
confidence similar to that which
He's
he would have
talking
felt
about the ISIS
had he been able to
papers.
retrieve his lost apparel. And in this fact, he saw that he believed to be a real cause of his first embarrassment at his nakedness. It had been the whiteness of his skin that had made him seem so naked by contrast with other creatures. For this whiteness had suggested softness.
This is the ISIS
weakness,
papers,
arousing
chapter
within
2,
him a
part 2.
disturbing
I just wanted to
sensation of
see what it
inferiority.
said really quick.
But now, as he took on his heavy coat of tan,
Because I
his
want
feet
y'all to
became
hear it, but
harder
it's
and
3
accustomed to
hours
the new
long.
conditions.
But I see that
He
they have
walked
some
no
of it
longer in
chopped up in
constant realization
chapters.
of his nakedness. Just as Burroughs reveals his deep preoccupation of the white collective in Tarzan, we still find the white collective neurotically concerned with their white skin nakedness, developing some sun tanning parlors so as to produce a permanent state of brown skin coloration. For example, Newsweek printed an article in December 1979 entitled 90-Second Suntans, in which one sun lamp devotee, when reminded of the hazards of sun tanning, stated, "If tanning is going to kill me, at least I'll be a good-looking corpse." The American Cancer Society estimates that the 1980 figure for new cases of skin cancer is 14,001, while an estimated 60,200 persons will die from the specific skin cancer melanoma. Despite these warnings, sun tanning persists. A cursory glance at any beach or swimming pool today will provide a clear indication of the
This is
present
not
number
what I
of
want y'all to
white-skinned
hear, even
persons
though
who are
this is
self-alienated,
like when
even
you
to the point
can
of
go
increasing
through and
their
listen to the
potential for
ISIS
cancer.
papers. I want you to, but I'm trying to find something.
The ISIS Papers, Chapter 12. Black Fear and the Failure
Here
of
it
Black
go.
Analytical
Yes.
Theological
Here it
Commitment.
is.
It is known that an extremely high level of fear and a profound sense of vulnerability of existence can lead the human brain computer into ineffectual patterns of circular thought. In such cases, problems perceived are avoided and never solved. This is in direct contrast to effective patterns of direct linear thought that move continuously forward in straight line progress. From problem perception and depth analysis, the proposed conclusive modes of problem solution. This holds for individuals as well as collectives, and the sense of powerlessness evolves out of fear and vulnerability, and with its imposed patterns of circular as opposed to linear thought, sets the stage for mental, behavioral, and emotional illness, which is always seen at levels of increased incidence amongst oppressed populations. Circular thought means moving from problem perception away from problem solution down a diversionary path, and back again to problem perception. This may then be followed by worrying and obsessive complaining. There is never consistent motion toward problem solution because to do so would challenge and alter the power dynamic of oppression. Thus, high-level fear is set in motion. Circular thought describes the short-circuiting of logic networks in the brain computer, an organ which has evolved by nature as a problem-solving instrument.
I didn't even know it said that.
Linear
The
thought
brain
suggests
computer.
movement from problem perception progressively towards problem solution, changing step by step whatever needs to be altered to achieve total problem solution, utilizing whatever means necessary to achieve this end. This form of thought is consistent with the function and structure of the brain as a problem-solving organ in the human organism. Now, Black people throughout the world live under the power of the white supremacy system of a total oppression and domination, implying the absence of any true power to determine ultimately what happens in their individual and collective lives. This is the major and only problem facing Black and all other non-white peoples throughout the world. This is precisely why they are called and classified as Black and non-white, to set them specifically in oppositional contrast to and in conflict with the genetic reality of
Look
white.
at some of them other people that I
But because
named.
this is a frightening and painful
Ayanna.
reality upon which to focus Black and other non-white attention, we as Blacks, particularly in the U.S., succumb to circular thought. Likewise, there's not only a failure to approach problem solution, but there is a stubborn refusal even to look directly at the problem. Ultimately, there is a disturbance in problem perception. Therefore, Black people in the U.S. reject the conscious recognition of the global white supremacy system, its absolute necessity of non-white oppression, and its very specific implications of a continuing powerlessness and potential destruction as opposed to a natural death for Blacks and other designated non-whites. Jonestown, Guyana is an
What up,
outstanding
T to be
example of
told?
destruction
What up,
of Black
Marshall?
spirit under the existing white supremacy system. Now, in 1979, close to 1,000 Blacks from the U.S. were relocated to Jonestown and then murdered under Nazi concentration camp conditions through a process controlled by white people. This extermination center was set up with the full knowledge of the segments of the U.S. government. It is thus no accident that the year 1979 gives further witness to the near total collapse and loss amongst Blacks, individually as well as collectively, of the ability to effectively perceive, analyze, and propose solutions to the problem of white supremacy and its implications for continuing Black powerlessness and social disintegration. In brief, it is clear in 1979, 21 short years before the year 2000, that there is no commitment by Blacks to analyze of the problem of white supremacy comprehensively. Blacks are without a perception of analysis of racism or of a scientific counter-racism. Blacks therefore do not know what to do with themselves. Thus, we are witnessing a collective Black floundering of an ideological vacuum and disorientation. All that remains is for Blacks to escalate tragically their activity of powerless arguing and squabbling amongst themselves and to compete with one another for white supremacy jobs and grants crumbs. Or Blacks can pretend, as a diversionary thought strategy, that the real struggle exists between imagined Black classes or between Black males and females. Every energy and psychological effort is expended at both the individual and collective levels to black out and avoid focusing on the true problem of white-Black confrontation, white supremacy. All Blacks realize, consciously and or unconsciously, that to engage in such a realistic focus can mean certain death at the hands of white supremacists. The total Black collective in the U.S. has yet to confront consciously the mind-blowing logic and thought-distorting shock and fear that set in following the assassinations of practically all courageous Black male leaders, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Whitney Young, Medgar Evers, and Fred Hampton, and then the Holocaust of Jonestown, Guyana, which many conscious Blacks accept as a planned government action. Since all of these deliberate deaths have occurred, there's been a profound disinclination by surviving Blacks to confront the awesome and murderous reality of white supremacy directly. The struggle for justice and true Black power now is perceived through a glass darkly and not face to face because there is overwhelming fear. In spite of their superficial differences, the various analysis of the Black problem by aforementioned men, if carried through their ultimate implications, all lead ultimately to an eventual neutralization of white power control. Since the demise of these black men, who all were aware of the necessity to resist and destroy white supremacy, the remaining rhetoric coming from our black collective is consistent with submission to and or cooperation with the racist oppressive dynamic, albeit with an historical and continuing chorus of complaints. This behavior of submission to and cooperation with white supremacy is consistent with the illusion that there can be a complete integration of non-whites into the white supremacy system. In contrast to these modes and thoughts of action, the black men cited above are examples of resistance to and destruction of white supremacy as an absolute form of injustice. These latter forms of behavior require high levels of self and group respect and can be sustained only when there is a willingness to give one's life for the achievement of justice, as each of these men demonstrated. However, it has been demonstrated by the aforementioned men that the almost certain consequence of a pattern of consciously determined resistance to and destruction of white supremacy is death at the hands of white supremacy advocates, those who see and understand white supremacy as necessary to white survival. Even young black children are able to perceive and articulate that if you try to help black people, you will be killed. When I ask a 10-year-old black boy, don't you want to study hard in school so that you can help black people? He immediately answered no, giving the above explanation. The chill of this reality, inherent in the maintenance of white supremacy, does not escape black children, and it most certainly does not escape their elders, although the latter are more sophisticated and know better than to admit the same openly. This fear of death at the hands of white supremacy collective, because it cannot be admitted aloud by the adult black population, has been repressed. The result of covering the fear has been the emergence of the sick, protective logic that there is no longer a problem of white supremacy, except in England, perhaps, or in Southern Africa. For blacks in the U.S., all of that has been solved. Additionally, there's a claim that the only remaining stresses are blacks rejecting other blacks, be it male versus female versus male, female versus female, and male versus male, or the fantasized black middle class versus the fantasized black lower class. Of course, the fact is that class does not refer to income alone, but to actual existing power. And since blacks across the board are oppressed and powerless under white supremacy, none of us have power. Therefore, there are no classes among blacks. But to return to the issue of black defensive logic, these patterns of logic which emphasize that the existing problems are mainly between blacks are reflective of black self-hate. This self-hatred is escalated and reinforced by increasing black suicide, black-on-black homicide, child abuse, and spouse abuse. In addition to the aforementioned non-productive behaviors, there are also increasing patterns of behavior that can be described as inducing semi-trance states, such as rhythmic hand clapping, singing, and dancing, excessive rock music playing, listening to radio music, and shouting in religious settings. These patterns of behavior are manifested continually by black people to pitch themselves into possible altered cortical brain states. Likewise, such brain states seem to have the effect of dampening a sense of an overwhelming external pain or danger over which blacks conceive we have no control. These practices, of course, avoid problem confrontation and thereby prevent problem solution. Similarly, the increase in interracial marriages can be viewed as a means of escape and a means for blacks to avoid the awareness of their continuing status as permanent outsiders, outside of the white chalk circle of white supremacy's numerical and genetic global necessity. It should be noted that in the white supremacy societal unit of Nazi Germany, the highest incidence of interracial marriage between Semites or non-whites and Germans, whites, occurred just prior to the ultimate destruction of the Semites in the Holocaust. The Semites of the Jewish religion were looked upon as non-whites because their ancestors were black and resided in Africa prior to entering Europe. See Chapter 18. Similarly, some blacks have sought to escape the confrontation with white supremacy through Marxist doctrine by attempting to conceive of themselves as members of the working class. They fail to see that Marx, who was a Semite, a non-white, was a victim of anti-Semitism. 1/3 of the world population of Semites of the Jewish religion were destroyed by German white supremacy, meaning that millions of Marx's own descendants were destroyed in the process. Still, not one word of Marx's doctrine addressed itself to this potential fate of his own group. He did not understand that he was being classified as non-white, nor did he understand white versus non-white color confrontation. Thus, he was ill prepared to address it and its destructive implications. He too became confused in recognizing himself as a non-white in the struggle that goes on between the white classes.
Some of this I've never
The upper
heard.
middle and lower
I've
classes.
watched her
He failed to
papers,
realize that irrespective of income,
lecture.
education, and position, he and all of the fellow Semites constitute the powerless, non-white, non-class victim in a white supremacy system. All non-whites then, as now, fall outside all three of the aforementioned white class groupings because the word class specifically refers to power, ultimately the power to protect one's life and the lives of one's group members in the framework of an existing power system. This attempted escape into Marx's doctrine falsely comforts some blacks, as it did many Semites in Europe. In accepting this doctrine, they are convinced that there are some whites, the workers, who wish to unite with non-whites out of the supposed common interests. They further believe that these whites do not function under the white supremacy necessity, the global fear of white genetic annihilation by the genetically dominant non-whites. That pattern of survival psyche of all who accept classification as white people, though they have no proof that a significant number of such whites exist, some blacks persist in following the Marxist doctrine in order to avoid the fear-induced awareness that blacks and other non-whites are and always have been weak and invulnerable to the context of the global white supremacy system. Like the 10-year-old black male child I mentioned earlier, all black adults will have to learn how to admit openly and honestly their fear of dying in the process of actively destroying the injustice of global white supremacy. Only then will black brain computers cease patterns of circular logic, the logic of fear and escape, such that a firm black analysis of white supremacy dynamic can develop. With this established, and long-term commitment to white supremacy neutralization can follow. A prerequisite to overcoming fear is the growth of self and group respect.
Anti-Simeon.
This respect
That's
cannot
deep.
Develop as blacks strive to blame
That's
one
a
another
great
for the
observation.
symptoms of their common oppression. This respect cannot flourish in the presence of a belief that blacks cannot develop their own analysis of and provide their own solutions to black problems without the leadership approval and or funding of non-blacks. In keeping with this goal, I recommend to the Black Collective that we need not have any conferences other than to announce the existence of our fear of white supremacy and to share with one another all possible solutions for overcoming these fears. Solving the problem of political and social oppression of a people is fundamentally no different than solving a problem of illness in the human body. What is essential in the latter instance is an accurate diagnosis of the problem through observation, an examination and various clinical tests and studies. The diagnosis represents a summarized statement of the specific pattern of physiologic derangement and a statement of the major and minor causal factors. A program of treatment and cure is based upon producing the specific measures to counteract the causal factors efficiently and alter any potential for the return of any of those factors permanently. Finally, the test of diagnostic accuracy is the effectiveness of treatment and cure. The physician functions as a scientist to the extent that he or she bases the plan of treatment and cure on concrete observation, examination, and analysis of the problem. This physician scientist is more dependent upon his or her current observations and analysis than upon some previously written descriptions of similar disease states found in some valued textbook written
I want to play this other video because I want to see
authorities.
exactly.
The physician
Hold on.
scientist is
He didn't want his lady friend who he was trying to make right.
You can't hear it very well. Anyway, that was the some of the ISIS paper, but there was a particular part that I was looking for that I wanted to share. And it's one of the, let me see if I can find it because I really want you to hear it from her, the way she talks about it and the threat. Let me see. It is one particular lecture of hers that I watched. I cannot find it anywhere. Um, and I know that she may talk about it in other lectures, but um, this particular part, and those of you who are familiar with Dr. Welsing, you'll probably understand what I'm talking about. Um, she breaks down now when you're watching it, you can see she breaks down, she draws the picture. She talks about the black cue ball on the pool table. She talks about the gun and why did they create the gun. And that's the part I really wanted y'all to hear and to see, was how she breaks that down, speaking about the gun and how the gun was created and why it was created, saying that it was created to annihilate the melanite species, because we're not a race, we are a species. Um, and it was created to annihilate because they felt the sports balls, yes, like they felt like the man's phallus, the melanite man's phallus, could annihilate their whole race, you know. And so in order to annihilate our species, um they created the gun, which is in the shape of um a penis and a scrotum, you know? And the way she breaks it down, man, um, is so deep. It's very deep. If you've never watched it before, I would say, because it's 3 hours, I would say go ahead and pull that up and watch it, because I like the way she breaks certain things down, you know. Um, they stay calling guns dicks too. Yeah, yeah. It backfired. But I just think that it's a lot of knowledge out here to be seen and heard, and not just mine. you know but I would say for people to go ahead and if you've never heard her speak, I heard her break down the things that she breaks down, like, it would be good to do so. If you've never listened to Bobby Hemmett, if you've never listened to Dr. Delbert Blair. Let me see if I can find this one part from Dr. Delbert Blair. I even like certain things from Dr. Umar, you know. They know how to say some shit and make some people look real crazy. This is Dr. Delbert Blair. This is only 9 minutes, The Return of the Gods.
For a soulless mankind, it profits now the knell of the death bell. For it means that if our planet can take in new energy, and if the electromagnetic field or frequency barrier can be altered so that higher frequencies can come in, and that pineal gland kicks in, then you will be once again in tune with your planet. And mankind, having no soul, having only the ability to report to the Lord God Master, will go crazy and begin to dysfunction and do crazy things. Human, who is part of both, will begin to question and try to follow its higher source, and the whole thing will lead to tremendous wars or tremendous conflagrations. The war will last no time if the sons of God can awaken to who they are. Because once they get in tune with the planetary head, the planet will do whatever they as a unit ask for. That is what some of the Yoruba people understood, what the magicians understand, and in a small way,
try once more to get in frequency with the slower heavens just above where they live, or on their continent, or the elemental kingdom can obey. It was meant that the sons of God, being of the seed of angels, didn't have to even do that. They could summon, they could call forth, they could put aside. But before any of that could be done, they had to first come into the consciousness and frequency of who they were. Again, I kind of repeat what I said when I was here before. This summer, you will hear, and starting this summer, probably for the next 3 years, about the sunspot activity being on the increase. You'll begin to hear more again about solar activity, prominences, all types of energy from the sun that will be very harmful. You'll hear about ultraviolet light burning tissue and melanomas and carcinomas affecting the blood and the skin of people on earth. For the sons of God who have an active pineal, that will be a day of blessing, for it will not affect you. You will not be burned, you will simply darken, and the melanin growing, it's almost like a vicious cycle to make you more and more powerful. As they get cancers of the skin and glands, you will get glands beginning to awaken and throwing out the frequencies that are not good and reconnecting the DNA molecules that were separated. For at one time we had 12 strands of DNA, now we have 2. How could we function as an advanced God or being when we don't even have the right hookup? We can't go to 220. We've got to stay at 110, 120. That will activate the glands to begin to work on the molecules of the cells, and the cell's DNA will begin to unite. What they call junk DNA is not junk DNA. It is where it all got blasted apart, and now, like an amoeba, it will be coming together again, and each cell in your body, blueprint, will begin to vibrate faster as you become once what you were, the true sons of the God. For man to be man at this time, man must understand his feminine counterpart that is within him, his animal counterpart that is within him, the angel and God counterpart that is within him, and his own soul blueprint, which is him. That's why you will find people undergoing hypnosis, past life recall, flashbacks of things and intuitively that they didn't know happened, but they'll begin to see their past lives come forth. People that they meet that they'll be drawn to and they don't know why. Places that they'll go and they'll go to and they don't know why. But each time you'll find that there's a benefit that comes when you follow that mind, because it will be something of an experience that will help to reawaken you. You must remember who you were. You must work with the DNAs in order for the DNAs to begin to entwine together. We speak of the tetraformation, which of course Jewish people cannot affirm. They will not say the name Yahweh. They will not say Yahweh. They will not say any of those things because they were not the chosen for this energy. They were usurpers and interpreters of the books of magic without the soul to contend with them. But the soulless ones and the soul ones were both asleep. Now when we understand that as this pineal gland flashes more and more, as the pyramid begins to also begin to glove off sound and the Sphinx begins to vibrate, that it is only a sign that the sons of God are calling forth their fathers and the angels are now being summoned to return. When they come back, the sky will be full of spaceships. Some are already there and seen by those who can
full of spaceships already here.
When that happens, all granite formations in, on, and around our Earth will begin to earthquake and volcanic activity. It has to be that way. And if you happen to live on a fault line, you best move. If you hold back
now the connection is unstable
of this planet, you are not serving the planet, and the planet cannot serve you. You'll always be told once you're a psychic when to move on and what to avoid. And the more you come in tune with the lines of force coming into our planet, the more will be your radio that is built in that will operate, and you will just know what to do or what to avoid. You'll know who to trust and who to accept. You'll know when you're powerful and when you're weak, and you'll know what to do to increase either one. The thing is, will you follow that inner voice and that inner sign? To conclude the part of the man lecture, man is separate from mankind, who is an invention by the Lord God. The Lord God is a planetary ruler, as each planet has rulers, and this one went a little bit.
It sounds
further.
familiar, Aquarius, but I'm not
Things
sure.
that happened, which we'd have to talk about, which is under the science called cosmology. It has nothing to do with the first cause, God, a creator. Please do not say that I said that. We're talking about advanced beings who from time to time see the planet and from time to time even interfere with the planet, and now they must move on. The creation that was here, that went through all of this, will be double rewarded. Because the souls that choose to incarnate at this time, which we call children, and have incarnated for the last 40 years, the advanced triggers, now will be rewarded for what they came here and suffered greatly to get the job done and to show again that the angels could return. Children are our key. That's why the state wants to run your children, disrupt your home, and do everything it can to stop that soul from awakening and being the mighty army that they were sent to be.
Wow.
This is where we must talk to women and mothers. We must talk to the man, however, because in many cases it is the boy child that is the one that will carry forth the great ruler out of which his continents will come.
I've not seen this one like this
that
yet.
The angels will walk through.
So I'm listening too.
And whose chamber will awaken just as the Sphinx and pyramid is awakening. Let me just say this as I conclude the first part. They not only have found the same Sphinx on Mars, as the Zulu also told you, but on the moon, on Jupiter, and everywhere they go, the same Sphinx stares them back. The sons of God did not just come to the earth. They are the masters of our solar system and our constellation. Just as in Star Wars, there was wars between the good and bad, there was a war here on earth. They hid that book from the Bible, the wars of the Lords.
The Lords.
They hid all of the things that would let you begin to understand that you were different from the other races of earth, and earth was your home, not theirs. But now that you can come into consciousness, you won't have to worry about getting out in the street with AKs, went out in the street and shooting them up. You can carry more power that will stop any bullets from being fired. You can cause earthquakes to happen or not. You can cause fire to actually come from the sky. And I'm not trying to compliment you because...
Told y'all! Raise the fucking frequency. Tap into the power.
Beginning to come into your own, certain conditions are necessary.
Listen, told y'all. I've not even seen this one yet. Not that part. Well, I've seen some of it, but not that part. He said the shit I'm saying. I may not agree with the Yahweh and all of that. I may not agree with that. I don't care. I know he knows what the fuck he is talking about. He knows what he is talking about. Where's another part of this? Let me see. I don't know which part this is. Let me see.
For close to 5 million years, the sons of God have degenerated on this planet.
5 million
Their souls
years.
have come and gone in bodies, never opening up to what and who they really were. Only from time to time getting a little light into what they potentially were supposed to be.
Listening.
Once they were not able to call on directly the universal cosmic creator, they had to then accept false gods and false teachings by mankind, who was put upon the earth later on by others to keep this Son of God in control.
Man!
From greatness and grandeur, having the bloodline of the angels, they also had the higher frequency body potential of the angels. But now it was locked in an animal body and could only escape between the hours of 11 and 2 in the morning, when the pineal gland could kick in and they could come out of these false bodies and become what they really were. That's why people who dream in black and white are on the verge of ascending. People who dream in color and remember the dreams and have dreams that come in threes are prophets.
Come through.
And as it moves up again, you can begin to awaken and come outside of your body, look down upon your body, and see that you are more than the body because you never were human. You were simply encased in human and locked in by the frequency barrier, and you didn't know who you were.
Wow.
Trapped on a planet where you didn't even come from, or only here for a lesson, the lesson has to go on and on and on infinitum. Well, even the planet is getting tired of that now and is changing the frequency. What we are about the business now is awakening.
Some people do.
As you watch the
Fancy.
stars, you will see, and if some of you are very much into celestial mechanics, into astrology or astronomy, you will find that the constellations are not in the proximity that they were even back in 1975. They've been displaced. You will find that due to what is called the progression of the equinoxes, even the signs by which you think you were born under no longer are the signs that rule you. They're not your natal ruling signs because they have now changed 30 degrees.
This is Dr. Delbert
Time
Blair.
and frequencies are speeding up. Some of you should have noticed that the days are flying by. The time seems to
Welcome,
just
y'all.
by. That's for you who are matching vibrations. You become quickened, sometimes agitated, sometimes searching for what you don't even know you're searching for, but you know something is changing, while other soulless creatures say time is still the same. It is not the same. Time is frequencing upward. It's speeding up. You must also speed up, and to do so, you must awaken those glands that can cause your body to keep up with your soul. And it means you will be mutating. Don't become frightened of mutation. Sometimes if everybody mutates, nobody notices. The first mutation will be of the soul progression, and your neuron centers will begin to clean up their act. That's why head colds will be the rule. That's why asthma will be the rule. Asthmatic conditions will be the rule as you try to clean off the mucus and burn it up. The more you use your brain, the faster it will be burned up. And the more you get the headaches, and the headaches will go away because you'll finally begin the frequency like you're supposed to.
Come on. Come on.
They will get sick of head diseases and die. For those who can't and are in the body, they'll get attacked by body diseases and die. This ease only means one thing: imbalance, out of order. To hold a charge and not be able to use that charge will cause that charge to burn up the wires, to burn up the connections. This is why your moves now.
Please don't call me Queen. My name is Petita.
Certain health foods, certain health drinks, herbals.
You schedule via the website, my love. I walk with the ancestors.com.
And so rather than do it the hard way, you say, I'm going to just trip out real quick. Not understanding that in a lowered frequency, when you do that, you run into lower vibrations, which also are called to a planet with that, and into all kind of trouble, losing your mortal soul. We've all talked about that, but we didn't understand what we were saying. But to a clear head, who through the use of consciousness-raising drugs, now, I'm not talking about now the street drugs. I'm not talking about barbiturates and influence and all this kind of thing. I'm talking about the whooshies and the fotees and the ginsems and the things that can tremendously raise your vibrational rate. The pineal gland then begins to activate and not die up and dry up. It activates.
So you want to know where to invest $1,000 right now? Well, forget about stocks, real estate, or cryptocurrency. There is a little known trend taking America by storm right now called digital real estate.
Crazy. This one is good too. I've heard some of this one.
Good evening and welcome to a Rashid Sharif production. My name is
Now, you ain't got to stay here all day with me.
And New York. Many radio appearances.
I'll come back to that one.
Has given a soul a chance to migrate and progress here in a form that normally was not used. Let me simply break it down by saying this. For close to 5 million years, the sons of God have degenerated on this planet. Their souls have come and gone in bodies never opening up to what and who they really were. Only from time to time getting a little...
I'm going to skip through because I won't.
Good evening.
And aware of my need and listening to a little soul like me, I think miracles happening in my... The church had told me all the things that mother and father had told me were wrong, because they were not believers in these things.
Dr. Delbert Blair.
It meant that someplace on earth or someplace somewhere, there were people.
Girl, you be killing me with this EIE.
And those are the people I'd want to learn from.
I mean, y'all takes me right out with that.
Just a little bit more intelligent than I, but a person that could do this kind of thing. And plus the fact it meant there must be some kind of a hidden history that abounded that I was not privy to. And I always wanted to know whatever I could to make me around this person. I had the opportunity of going to a UFO symposium at that time in Chicago. It was all I could do to scrape together the money for it because I was not making a lot of money at that time. And I met a man by the name of George Adamski. George Adamski was a Polish man who was holding a seminar there. I just about priced into his press again when he was addressing the press and doing his press forum. He lied and said, well, I know the young man is okay, or else they would have arrested me. And then we spent some 5 hours in dissertation. This man had just gotten off a plane from Yugoslavia, interesting enough, and was over here to make, I think, about 16 principal cities. That was the first one in his entourage. To make a long story short, he answered a lot of my questions to the depth that no one else had been able to do so. And then he gave me a challenge. He said to come back the next day as part of this forum he was giving. I did come back the next day. I told him I didn't have any more money. And, of course, I had a girlfriend at that time and a lot of other friends, but none of them wanted to go on these forays. Through him, I met very interesting men. They were both black men at that time. One was wearing an extreme natural, which was not the case in 60, and the other has close-cropped hair and looked like a corporate entity, if you would. And not only did they read my mind, predict the future by 15 minutes,
me too,
to see if they were truthfully able to do this or not. Able to make me lose time. I lost about 10 minutes only of the time I understand. But then also gave me some answers that no other people had been able to do. And then gave me a challenge also. They said to watch the skies for the next week. I asked them, were such things as UFOs and this kind of thing? And they said, well, just watch the skies for the next week, if you would. Well, I had always watched the skies. I hadn't seen anything that was mysterious to me. That next week in the city of Chicago, I was going to University of Chicago at that time, and what they call the quads. Quads are simply the rear end of 4 student dorms and faculty dorms that face onto a plaza. Well, I saw these 3 objects, and they came down to no more than, I guess, 800 feet above me. If you've ever seen anything like that, you'll never forget it. And it was a close-eye view of 3 flying saucers back in 1960. It was a very interesting phenomena. I questioned myself about it, and I really didn't talk about it other than to 3 people that happened to see it with me for 10 years. I didn't because I didn't feel anybody would believe me. I really didn't feel that I could benefit from it, understanding what was happening to people that did talk about it. And all I needed was that verification to turn my life around. I really didn't care.
This is the bloodline of the gods.
Believe it or not, because I was unbelieving until all these things happened to me. Not being a hypocrite, I had stated that if I could ever find out that these things were real, and what more than to see them or think that you saw them, and I do think that I saw them. And one, by the way, made a motion that just was, they were sitting.
I've heard like 30 minutes of this one.
50 feet in the air, guesstimation. One just said, boom, it lit up. By the way, too, as they hovered, they waved like a feather on water or on a pond or a stream. And then one got kind of bright and swooped. It was just as though it was there one time and then gone. It just showed, I can't even calculate speed. The thing was gone as far as I could see, like a flash. The second one began to make right angle turns up and low and spun as it was doing this. It took those oscillations, I guess, about almost 6 minutes, and it went out slowly out to the other direction. In the meantime, I kept trying to look at it as it was going away back at the main one, because showing how fast one of them had gotten away from me, I didn't want the other to go before I was able to really give a keen sight to it. To make a long story short on all of this, the last one, the other one just made these right angle turns and so on. The other one just slowly went backwards, retreated from me, went up, I don't know how far, but not too far out, but mainly away from me, showing me this 3 distinct motion capabilities and aerodynamic concepts that they were able to do. With that, of course, there have been so many miracles in my life from that time on. but never have I made contact verbally with anybody else that I felt was either alien or extraterrestrial. And to me, an alien is anything that's intelligent in the cosmos. It could be a grasshopper, it could be a spider, it could be a humanoid form, whatever, as long as it's intelligent. It will definitely be alien to us. To me, extraterrestrial, as it was explained to me, is a intelligent being that has had a liaison either on this planet or a planet like this one, and therefore can be sympathetic or empathetic to what we're going through.
Whoa.
I have not had such a contact knowingly since. If they've been there, they haven't announced it. And all I have done is to see what has happened as a result of that, which increased psychic power with me. Just miraculous things have happened with me, and that's it. I give that as a preface because it will probably help you to better understand what I'm going to say and better understand me. Now, whether or not you are is not important. I'm not here to sell UFOs. I give that because it will show you the very strong conviction and the very strong eminence in my life, eminence that changed my life around. Now, we are faced at this time with some very interesting challenges, shall we say. We have a financial system that's in the process of being changed with the extreme right-wing Congress, and I'm not going to stay real political, but politics are still the backbone of this nation, and they can't be skirted because what happens in Congress, and what happens with all of those so-called servants and political machinations that surround that, happens to you from taxes on or down. We're finding cutbacks in education. We're finding cutbacks in Medicaid and Medicare. We're finding cutbacks in a lot of programs because there's not enough money for them. We're finding the Social Security system being challenged or possibly even some say bankrupt. We're finding our banking system, again, not entirely by the FDIC as it used to be. We're finding the Federal Reserve making laws that nobody seems to be able to circumvent, and they are controlling our lives, our taxes, everything that we do. Based on all of that now, we're finding that the Cold War supposedly has ceased. The Cold War, of course, was supposedly where we were dumping, meaning we, the United States of America, lots of money into to keep communism from usurping and taking advantage of us and usurping a democratic free form of society, republic, if you would. We also are finding that those money that used to be spent for that are now free to be spent other ways, but yet the monies aren't there because there's a deficit and we can't balance the budget. Now, I make just one statement to you as a lay person, secular as I would be in the ministry, but as a person who is not a politician. How in the world can we ever balance a budget if the Federal Reserve charges $1 for every dollar that they put into circulation? Just that alone will show you that a balanced budget is stupid and silly, even be questions, because as long as $1 is being charged by entity outside of the United States government to print the money, then it means that all money printed will have taxes on it, and that is not what a republic is supposed to have happen. But in addition to all of that, we're finding again that there are certain black projects. Now, the black projects is a clandestine, nefarious overview of having Congress not appropriate money to the Defense Department or to armed forces or any other research arm, and yet they are spending literally billions, if not trillions of dollars to research into items that are not authorized by the United States government Congress, but products, concepts like time travel, like not the stealth bomber, but Avro cars, with the Avro plant that was blew up 19, I think it was 60 or 59 or something like that, killing some 39 people, injuring 19, a joint project between the Canadian government and the United States government to build electromagnetic saucers all the way back there. They have projects now supposedly on the moon, project Mars, projects in time travel. And again, if you hear about the Philadelphia experiment, which I think has made movie history by being constantly circulated over 40 years' time, and about the Montauk project, then you can understand that there are a lot of things going on that are not being corporately funded, not being funded by the government, but still in all are receiving monies. You hear nefarious things about drugs and the people, and especially the inner city youth in about 164 major cities that are drug users, and that the drug thing must be stopped. How can the drug thing be stopped when the government seemingly sanctions it or cannot find out what everybody on any city blocks knows where the local pusher is? To put people in jail who consume it and not people who bring it in is ridiculous. If I went on to point out all the things that the United States is guilty of, you'd all in there either crying or hating me for telling the truth. I'll say all you have to do is read certain books, A Higher Form of Killing. Waxman and Paxman came out of England. Read again about the poison needle, Eustace Mullins. Just read about the nefarious that are being done by this country, not by the citizens. Because I find whether black, white, yellow, or brown, most citizens are not aware of this. And those that do seem to know about it, talk about it in hushed terms about why is this happening. It's as though we're led by force or by someone who just is intent on being bad, negative, and no good. Now, if that's trite, then understand that triteness is the basis for goodness. Because when we are children and are not so conformed and brainwashed, we understand right and wrong. We understand basic things we should not do. Then we're told either we can get away with it or we're told it's not bad, and therefore those minds now being sublimated now follow on this new type of teaching authority. Used to be moral authority rested in the church, and non-secular authority rested in the institutions of higher learning. I often wonder what institutions of higher learning are now teaching, because to me they're professing things now that only seem to get us in trouble. The true research scientists, it comes up with cures for cancers, comes up with cures for AIDS, or those, their laboratories are bombed, their papers are, sometimes they're in prison again, like in the case of Wilhelm Reich. It just goes on and on. So I'm saying this, in case you wonder why some of the things that I'm going to get into tonight may be happening or may happen, look no further than your own mirror. Either you've allowed this to happen because you think it's funny, or because of naivety, or you know others that you should correct and you're afraid to approach them because they might hurt you, or you have no soul yourself about what is right and wrong. Everybody that allows things to go on that should not go on, for either fear of safety of self, or for naivety, or for money profit, therefore has to pay when the chips come down. We've done a lot of wrong here. This country is far from being not guilty of a number of terrible, what can I say, just terrible things, we'll leave it like that. At the same time, there are far worse countries and far worse regimes that run those countries. But now, with what is called the New World Order, these things are being amalgamated. The good now becomes the bad, and the bad becomes the not so bad. Things can now be allowed as long as this one rule can come under the guidance now of the government forms that will let one world exist, one means of distribution, manufacture, one means of production, and one world card. Because the end result of the New World Order is to have one world card, no money systems, all monetary systems obfuscated. We are finding now that there are old plagues that are now coming around to become new scourges. They talk about Lambia Guardia, or Guardia Lambia. They talk about Ebola. They're talking about, again, and I have a quote from this paper here, if I can find it. I think they call it the Betty Guy or Day Guy, a new disease coming out of Mexico, out of the Mato Grosso, where they're cutting down the trees. They have viruses of all sorts, and of course, AIDS pandemic not only threatens blacks, but it threatens not only homosexuals, but it threatens heterosexual people from all walks of life. We're finding again that the ozone, the hole that supposedly started over one of the poles of the United States, of the world, has now spread not only over the United States, but over almost all major continents. This hole in the ozone allows ultraviolet UV rays to come through, which are very detrimental to people who have very little skin pigmentation, as well as to people who have a lot of skin pigmentation. What this is causing is melanomas and carcinomas, melanomas of the skin, carcinomas and leukemias of the blood. It is causing the body, which is not able to take in this new ultraviolet energy, this new energy rays, to burn, to fry. It causes, again, an imbalance within the glandular systems against the things that are secreted. It causes, again, as I say, the blood to become toxic. And once we reach a crisis, toxemia, disease and imbalance always sets in. We have as though the planet was actually turning on us. They found that at Chernobyl, and I don't think there's anyone in here that has not heard of Chernobyl, again, that gaseous cloud, whatever it was made up of, drifted away. And there are reports of devastating things that this cloud, which is not completely dissipated, is still able to do. Of course, the Russian government denies that, Interpol denies that, and the UN scientific community only gives lip service to it and not before the public press, which never repeats the idea that some atomic cloud could maybe be drifting over, causing all kind of devastation. They're finding, of course, now that on the moon, where they supposedly spent 15 trips to, and I doubt that very seriously, that they have found pyramids on the moon. They don't talk about it. They found round dome structures on the moon. They found an OB-17 bomber on the moon. They find corpses of what looks like human people, again, on the moon. They found, even with Virgil Grissom and many of the other astronauts, Neil Armstrong, and so that reported that they had been paced and had seen UFOs or some type of unidentified flight objects, not only on the surface of the moon, but pacing them on their journeys to the moon when they actually went. If you remember, again, back in 1959, 1960, when President Kennedy came into power, one of the things that got him incorporated into the United States head congressional person was the fact that he said, we must have a race to space that we must win, meaning the United States must win, that we must beat the Russians to the moon. Then, having put all kind of money, changed again Cape Canaveral to Cape Kennedy, poured all kind of resources and monetary and brain power into this, the Russian launched 2 weeks before the supposed United States launched, they launched Sputnik. Then, nothing was ever heard about what happened to the Russian launch. Nothing was ever heard, and all you heard was the United States progress into the space race. What did happen was very interesting. In my reading of various books and so on, I'll give you a book list later on if you like it. It's yay long. But at any rate, was that a female by the name of Yuri someone, being one of the cosmonauts, has stated that the Russian launch was blasted out of the sky by the electrical beam, possibly what they now call a beam weapon. I have no idea. But having been so blasted, many of her comrades were killed and vaporized on the spot. Others were hanging in space where their capsule had been blasted. And as she reported, still on an open mic in her helmet, I guess down to the Russian base again, they are collecting them. There's something she was sobbing, and the last words supposedly, and now they're coming for me. I repeat, and now they're coming for me. Now this would make me feel, being a layperson and being ignorant to have the deviousness of some of the newspaper reporters and AP and so on like this, that this woman had been blasted out of her spaceship by something in the sky or from the earth, and that whatever it was able to now transverse space and pick up her hanging in the air in space, comrades and herself. One thing is very interesting. After that, Russia stopped so much the race for space and in space and started getting into metaphysical research. They used to talk about secret projects behind the Iron Curtain, psychic projects behind the Iron Curtain. Uri Geller pops up again, and many other people who were supposedly able to use telekinesis by moving objects, mind control, teleportation possibly they talked about. Many of the things that are now what we see on the TV screens and in the movies, what we call New Age projects, they started back there in the 60s and in the 70s. There was said that Tunchek and another place, somebody may help me with another big Russian city, as late as the 70s and 80s had UFO landings there, both in a theme park and also near the Russian embassy in Prague, per se. There supposedly have been a lot of so-called alien contact with the United States. Rumors had been that Eisenhower, rumors had been that Truman had all had UFO contacts, and also personnel that supposedly had driven these ships. Landing supposedly at Edwards Air Force Base, at Lackland Air Force Base.
You can sit in the house for me,
a couple of the other ones again out in California here. All kind of rumors about new, as I say, personnel carriers that hovered in the air, and the land hover, the air vehicle that now was able to go over water and land was then introduced. Of course, nothing about the stealth at that time. It's been said that many people have been abducted on Earth. I don't think you can turn on your TVs now for one solid week without hearing about some UFO abduction, either supposedly in a fictionalized drama or the X-Files or Extraordinaire or whatever again. We're seemingly now blessed or plagued with everything about Deep Space Nine, about Star Wars 5030, about Star Wars this and that. Everything now is about space, about aliens, about new inventions, about dimensional frequencies, about life on other worlds and in our solar system. Why? To me, it's because we're being prepared for something. I don't think that all those billions of dollars on network TV are sent up there for nothing. Something they're preparing for, whether it be actually extraterrestrial, alien, or government controlled, something is happening. If you've noticed again, over the last 10 years, at Christmas, the best sales now are for reptoids and dinoids.
Yep.
Toys, Mutant Ninja Turtle movies come out.
Dinosaurs. I say that all the time. You
make.
see them in the commercials, dinosaurs.
Now they're loving Dino, and they're loving all kind of other characters that, of course, not only are sometimes capable of dimensionalizing, but look much different than we do. Interesting enough, we have problems here with the races, with just 4 or 5 different colors, and yet now kids are accepting green, scaly monsters and fish people and amphibians. It's true. In the churches, we go here tomorrow on Sundays and Saturdays again, and we say how we love each other, and we can't get along for 5 days during the week. But yet, we can see and sympathize and empathize with E.T., the extraterrestrial, when he got hurt. And then we can go out and live somebody else, or we can go out and give poison to somebody else, or we can look the other way when somebody else is falsely accused of a crime. We got a very interesting civilization here. And with this new world order, this civilization is going to get tighter and more chummier. And some of the people that we're beginning to be chummy with, I don't particularly think are the chums we should be running with. That's a personal opinion. As adults, you can make your own. But I will say this. Many of these research scientists know exactly where some of these Ebola are coming from. They know where the Lambda Guard is increasing from. They know through the World Health Organization how they gave in Zaire shots of smallpox vaccines, which already were outlawed through the same organization on the international market. They understand the hepatitis B vaccine that was contaminated again with AIDS, so they gave it to Greenwich Village on 2 occasions, 78, 79, 72, 73 to homosexuals. They understand that right out here in San Francisco, the Coast Guard frigate that made 8 passes back and forth, spraying bacteriologicals into the air so that they floated over San Francisco. San Francisco does have a large homosexual population that has no reason to then to try and ostracize or hurt homosexuals, because there are other people living there too. So if they only hated homosexuals for some reason, then what about the heterosexual population? What about black, white, yellow, and brown, the Asian community that is there? Understand again, at one of the most heavily traversed areas of the Pennsylvania Turnpike, where you can go east, west, north, or south in our United States, during the summer, when people had air conditioning units on, tops down if they were convertibles, windows down, they sprayed bacteriologicals with unmarked black helicopters. They did it in 78, 79, they did it in 83, 84, and who knows how many other times that I have not been able to document through extensive research. We heard that the American Legionnaires were meeting in a hotel in Philadelphia. And all of a sudden, through the ductwork again, either induced by some accident or otherwise, Legionnaire's disease popped up. But before that time, you heard about, what do they call this? I'm not referring my notes now. I'm doing this all from my mental capability, which sometimes is limited. They had, again, simplex, herpes. Herpes 1, herpes 2, herpes 3, herpes simplex, and then you didn't hear anything more, but you heard about Legionnaires. Then you didn't hear anything more after about 8.5 months about Legionnaires. You heard about AIDS. And of course, there's no tie-in. There's nothing showing again why the yeast infection of Candidiasis and Candida now suddenly has gone crazy within the system. And by the way, I'm going to give you possible remedies and helpers for these
magicwalk@gmail.com. MAJICK.
You over-fractionalize, you step to the world of the allopath. So I can say possibly things that may help or remedies for these things. But suddenly now, the government cannot control, the FDA cannot control. We're just full of all kind of plagues and viruses by which the immune system, the shots we used to get, don't seem to be as effective as they used to be. The treatments that we used to have don't seem to be making inroads against these new viruses. I simply say if they're laboratory designed, and I think they are from research, if they're asked for, paid for, and then delivered, then they're specifically made genetically to do exactly what they're doing to the people that they're doing it to. The only trouble is we always seem to mistake the Creator because these people are soulless and spiritless and don't understand what the Creator can do because they think that they're God. So as a consequence, we're going to have to pay for that, and they are too.
What you sending, Miss Antoinette? Because you already say you're going to do something. I ain't saying you do it yet. What you sending?
Can come back against them, which is doing now in the United States, and will continue until they change. And since I think they're so nefarious, they won't change, we're in for it. Let me again just read you part of an article here. It says, "Old New Plagues, a Latin Scourge." It's not just a Latino scourge, it is now a United States scourge. I'm going to just briefly jump through this. Brazil, it starts with a fever like 100 less deadly plagues. Then comes a growing weakness. The skin turns yellow in the abdomen. Internal bleeding begins. Soon blood pours from the body, through the eyes, and an endless black vomit. In 9 out of 10 cases, the liver dissolves and the victim dies. No, it's not Ebola. It's Labria black fever. Just one of a half dozen deadly and little understood viral diseases emerging from the rainforest of Latin America. They were told that those rainforests are one of our chief ways of oxygenating the Western Hemisphere. They don't care. They needed more hotels. Half the hotels they have now are seasonal because of the typhoons and hurricanes. They're still losing.
Why would I be emailing you or calling you?
Let me go on with this one again to show if you could even look through this or what you would do.
If you say you're going to do something, why am I emailing you and calling you?
Let's go on with this again. People all the time are going back,
and I love you too,
going into the jungle and coming back with strange fevers no one knows about, said Betsy Duary Thatcher, malaria specialist at Brazil's National Institute for Amazon Research in Manaus. If we started looking for them, we could isolate a new variety every week. A new variety every week.
Some people ain't been added yet.
The unknown frontier. I go on again.
Some people have been. I added some people. I haven't gotten to everybody.
As it does right now in Latin America and in the third world in general. New diseases are at a frightening pace, researchers say. Even more disturbing, old scourges, once thought relegated to history, are making a comeback, particularly in Latin America. Tuberculosis is one of the things that they talk about. Malaria is another one that they talk about. Plasmodia. What is this? Plasmodia juspartum parasite. Okay, and one of these Latin things simply means a parasite that can stay on mosquitoes, could stay on flies, tsetse flies, could stay on bees. It's also being brought back to people. Worms and other things are carrying it, if you would. In Nicaragua and Honduras, a mystery illness characterized by chills, fever, and severe bleeding in the lungs has been tentatively identified as IS parasitic, an animal disease contracted through contact with animal waste. The outbreak has killed 16 people and sickened more than 2,000 in the two countries over the last 2 months alone. A similar outbreak in Brazil killed more than 40 people and injured more than 3,500. This goes on, and then finally I want to just go over, if I can, some of these other names that they gave for it. Cholera. Oh, please hear this one, according to this article. Human migration also has contributed to the spread of disease, cholera, unknown in Latin America until 1991. Apparently arriving in Peru in bilge water dumped from an Asian ship. Since then, it has sickened a million people and killed 9,000 people. Controlling it in Latin America will take a decade and cost $200 billion, according to estimates by the Pan American Health Organization. I have this article. Some of you may have received it. I've tried to run off enough to have it passed out again. What I'm saying to you is that we've got a problem not only with viruses that I think were man-made, but viruses because of greed and a lack of respect for the planet are now being released from the tundra, from areas that to me were not necessary to encroach at this time because we were already settled in all the land already available to our country, if you would, and to the world. Drive sometime from an urban city, such as Portland. Take a rural highway. You have miles and miles and miles of areas that could be developed. Some of them have trees, some of them don't have trees. In the areas of the earth, we seem to cluster together in small patches and let the rest of the land go by, even though it is livable and tillable. We seem to like to see suffering. I don't know whether it makes us feel better because we're not the ones suffering, to see others suffering, or just what. But we can always find a way to look down upon somebody else and say, well, gee, it's not happening to me, so I don't have to take any action on it. Then when it does happen to me or someone close, then wonder why everybody else doesn't get excited or get upset about it or help. If you help one, you're supposed to help them all. If you can't help any, then don't cry when it does happen to the few or to the one. There is a group here that seemingly is very interested in what is called the serious mystery. That is very interested in what is called the people called the Dogons, or the Dogon people, as I like to call them, in Africa, down in Maui and so. There is a people who seemingly are very interested in what happens with the Tuaregs, what happens with the Shillooks, also people in the Congo and in the deserts of Africa who have a very interesting pastime. Their way of life is predicated upon what seems to happen to the dogs. In fact, the phrase, we're going or I'm going to the dogs, comes from the Dogon people. Okay? For some time, even before Lewin Watt and Ivan Van Clark and other people on the British Astronomer Royal Society viewed with their telescopes what happened in our solar system and viewed outside of our solar system and began to report about what happened in Procyon and what happens in Alpha Centauri, what happened again in the dog stars, if you would, Canis Major and Canis Minor. These people could tell those astronomers more about what happened in Canis Major and on Canis Minor than these astronomers could. It wasn't until around 1860 that they even discovered the daggone system here. But before that time, these people had pottery, had parchments or tablets that they carved on and rocked on and write on, had things that they circulated and tattoos upon their skins, talking about Canis Major and Canis Minor, the dog stars. That protection and help could come from Sirius. And also, as we begin to follow that back through time, back to the 20th dynasty, the 19th dynasty, and the 18th dynasty heyday in Egypt, we find that they had or shared the same common beliefs. Amongst the Egyptians, whether we think that they were prolific in mental power or just in fecundity, these people reached a height that has not been duplicated if we believe that the pyramids were built during those 1600 years' time before the 18th dynasty and when Egypt came into prominence. We find there that all that they knew about astronomy, which was very much, they still held two constellations very serious. They held Orion in the Pleiades and Sirius where? In Canis Major, Canis Minor. They stated that those two, amongst all, must be watched because they believed that the gods came from there. They believed that extraterrestrial or alien life forms, extremely intelligent, seemed to have a lot to do with what happened on this planet and had done so for years. Before I go a little bit into the 8th dynasty, if that does not hold your interest, then Professor Zachariah Sitchin's book and novels talking about Sumeria and the tablets that were found there also talk about the Anunnaki and the same things that took place there, as though there was a lot of interfacing and intercoursing of both goods as well as genetically with people on Earth and people from space. One thing that the Sumerians said, the Akkadians said, the Egyptians, especially in the 18th and 19th dynasty, said was this: those constellations for watchfulness should never be far from your mind because of the impact of what they had done and could do pretty much any time that they chose. And to understand their cycles of politics in the cosmos probably might behest man very much. It might be one of the best things that mankind could do. They stated that, I paraphrase, that Orion in the Pleiades was referred to as Sahil, the foolish, the hunter, always looking for the souls of man and the sublimation of mind's man to turn him away from goodness. They stated that Sirius, Canis Major, was where the dogs, the protectors, were that had a deep interest in what happened on Earth and were always trying to help man if man could begin to turn back from the path he had chosen back to where he had seemingly started from. Now, I don't know if any of that is true. I'm not sure whether any of you even are interested in it, but I will say it interests me. And I will say when I see how much time in Sumner, in Mesopotamia 1, in Akkad, in Egypt, in Nubia, people spent watching the vibrations and emanations and electromagnetics from those planets, that I say,
yeah, I'm gonna try to do the Amazon thing. I show gratitude for that.
We find that in the 18th dynasty, whatever manifested there put an imprint on the genetic structure and the DNA of most of us here. Why do I say that? Roughly about 15 years ago, a entourage came out of Egypt and went through the United States and Canada. It was called King Tut's entourage. It dealt with Akhenaten, his father, and the golden funerary mask, and all of the regals that were found with that society at that time. And yet, think about this, and yet, millions of people in principal cities throughout the United States came out to view this procession, this entourage. It didn't even have any real sarcophagi. It had only face masks, if you would. Whether they had the real gold with it, who knows? But people by the millions lined up in the snow, in the heat, to go to the museums in the various cities in the United States to view this entourage, to see just the face mask of King Tutankhamun. Ask you, why? These were not all black people that came out. These were not all white people that came out. These were not all yellow people that came out. Nor were the brown people that came out. People came out. And they didn't even know why. Something in their DNA or RNA structure, something locked in their so-called subconscious vibrated. They said, this is some procession that must be kin to me, and I want to see it. I just want to be there. I'll tell you why many of the Earth people wanted to be there. Because it was the last time on our Earth, in even recent history, that the people who had the bloodline of the were able to reign upon Earth. The people who had psychic power and the ability to work with the animal kingdom, to work with all the various species.
See, to be told, on Earth, I fucking found it.
The people who were able to look forward to everlasting life.
I found it.
Because they knew that the soul could not die and that the soul was threatened again by a soulless wanderer who had come into our system and even called more and more upon their own venerated gods to help them by keeping them in touch with the universal prime creator, where they believed in Aton, or the one God, along with the plurality of gods. In the Old Testament,
apparently in my dirty clothes, I guess I had them worn. What the fuck?
And the Masoretic text
don't even remember wearing it.
Were taken, again, many books which talked about the wars of the lords, which talked about the Ifrit, which talked about the humans and mankind in terminology that we have forgotten, and told us that there was an abomination that happened on this planet, and that there was an overview of people who wanted to see if this planet could ever outlive the laggard's entry into our solar system and upon this planet. And euphemized in the 18th dynasty,
it's snowing
under Queen Tai, Queen Mu, again, Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and of course, Tutankhamun, the boy king, was the last time when these long heads, and this is why many of the Egyptologists, studies of petroglyphic hieroglyphic writing, and these so-called researchers state again that they were stylized drawings from a time when Egypt fell. They were not stylized drawings. That's the way these people's heads were. It's
going to be 1 degree tomorrow.
Much like the ancient Assyrians had long heads, and the Syrians had long heads. They showed that there was a genetic structure here incorporated in a DNA RNA factor that was not normally in the genes of Earth.
In Denver?
And it gave them great power for psychic and telepathic prowess.
Glad you didn't. I found it.
King Akhenaten, sometimes called by the Greek Akhenaten per se, and Minneapolis, or something like Amenhotep, was a general who, when he went out on his battles and so, got tired of the fighting. And when in Taxila, talked with the Frayotes there. Taxila is now Singapore. It was part of Asia. And was introduced to the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. And introduced to Krishna and Buddha. Both of those terms mean the black, or the black ones. Buddha means hail the black. Krishna is the purple black god of these people. They were told that there had been abominations here and that Egypt was going to be...
I believe it was after we were put to sleep, but I'm not sure, but I believe it's after.
Learning process once more. And for seeing if the magical herbs, if the magical incantations, if the knowledge of the underworld and Amenta could now be once more brought back to a people possibly ready for the last time before the Warriors return, what they call the 13th planet, which Christians now call Wormwood, the return of the Dracons. And if there could be a time when the people here could reach enough understanding to stop this scourge from happening again and to continue on the path of righteousness, even with all the many humanoid forms that were now extant upon that earth. Well, seemingly, absolute power corrupts absolutely, as they taught me in philosophy. Because the more power you give to some fools, the more power they want. They're never satisfied with power because they are corrupt in their souls, or are soulless. As a consequence, these priests that were there couldn't take the turn of events that Akhenaten brought forth. Akhenaten changed his name to He Who Worships the Most High Atan, or Akhenaten. Ankh being now a scepter, meaning heralding or relegating, and Atan being the Most High. He would change his name to Ankh-Aten. And then, with all the many wives he had, and by the way, his many wives had given birth also to long-headed babies, which means that that was in his genes for his fulfillment. He had been either placed or planted here, or for some reason he had been changed so he would proliferate this new kind of being. And then he found Nefertiti, supposed to be now one of the most beautiful women that ever lived upon the earth, outside of Belikas and Makeda. And again, in finding Nefertiti, he chose her over all of his other wives. Two things he had: a very verdant zest for life and an extremely long head, which is looked upon as one of the marks of beauty, which many of the African people have tried to emulate since that time. Through her, he had supposedly sons. And I won't take it further than that when I say supposedly, because that is something for a Black history lesson, and it begins to speak in terms of I think I should share with you, but I will say this, which I do think I should share with you. The long-headed babies, either of that union or other unions, and the fact that Nefertiti had a long head and was all very psychic, all of these people were, including Queen Tai, his mother, was the last, as I say, part of the DNA, RNA factor within a people on Earth that were set to rule. The right and passage of kings to rule was based again on the ability to control kingdoms. But we didn't understand that that kingdom was not just the kingdom of Earth, but the other species kingdom and interdenominational kingdom. That's what meant for the rite of passage for man to come into his higher self. You didn't elect leaders, they were born. You didn't elect rulers, they were born to rule, and they showed it through phrenology, cranial concepts, and the DNA factor. If they couldn't be telepathic, if they couldn't control animals, if they couldn't understand the people, they were not fit to rule. And found a bloodline like that, they tried to keep that bloodline going. This is why, as we got into the Serbian and later European Rite of Kings, where they tried to even use incest to keep a bloodline intact, it was brought on by the Nubian Egyptian dynasties, which showed them that there was something there to protect, and something there that met the right of rulership through spiritual purposes, not just political domination. Once Akhenaten had reached his height, he retreated from the warring world and from the so-called social world and did lots of meditations and began to call upon the gods, as was said. So much so that Nefertiti began to fear for his life, because understanding the power of mad priest at that time, realized that if he was not a strong ruler and could not maintain an army, that they probably would usurp his power and probably just finally overthrow him. Well, she spoke better than she thought, because in her zeal and fear, she conspired with the priest of Amun, and he was poisoned. Roughly around 39 years old at his death. However, they had the son, the boy king, Tutankhamun, and he died between 18 and 19, also poisoned. And one of the curses of that dynasty is that we don't even understand the real names of those people in that dynasty. If Amenopis had changed his name to Ankh-Akhenaten because he venerated the one high supreme being in the cosmos, the creator of everything, and realized that there might have been lesser servants, which we now would call gods, nothing but scientists, on other worlds, and respected them, but did not respect him with the same, shall we say, humbleness that he did the Almighty. And he took the time to change his name to Ankh-Akhenaten. Why would he leave his name of his only son, or the son that he most respected, to be called Tutankhamun, after the priest? In the unity of early Egypt, Amun-Ra, Ra, the Most High Sun God, and Amun from the Nubian dynasty, and there was a great battle that was fought between I can't think of the guy's name now, Memphis or so on and so forth, and somebody else.
I think I look so cute in shorts.
Why would he then have his son be called what? Amun. He went against the priest of Amun. He changed his name from Amun. Why would his son be called Tutankhamun? His son would have been called what? Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun. Because it venerated the Most High and the one God, the same as his father had changed his name, as many of the brothers and sisters are now understanding to change their names for the vibrations of fame, and it showed again that they were making a step forward in this immortal life. Why did I spend all that time with that? Because it is from the Egyptian technology, the Egyptian religion, and the Egyptian understanding that our whole system of government has now come forth. And what was said to be the first veneration of a higher, what we would call more metaphysical culture, is now sank to the point where it took 1 million men to have to come to the same venerated spot to remind them of the bloodline of the God that still exists on earth and how it has been persecuted. On the back of the Federal Reserve note, no longer a dollar bill by United States men in Congress, but by unity outside of the United States government, which prints this, the Federal Reserve, are still the symbolic metaphysics that all Masons understand and all secret societies of truth understand. The God-man that was on earth and would return in the 13th quadrant. Everything on here is number 13 multiplied. From the from the Novus Chloride, from again the United States seal, from the 13 stars, the tail feathers, and the 13 steps again leading up to the non-ziggurat, and I, of course, that floats above it. All of these things simply show that it stated when the culture that was here with the eagle, which is a predator, begins to fully understand the culture that was then, which was in Egypt, or Aton, or Fez, that this money would be worthless. Because the consciousness would have changed and the monetary system therefore must fall and a new world order, Novus Ordo Seclorum, would come into being. This is nothing new. This has been relegated. 1776 was relegated by the Constitutional Fathers, Benjamin Franklin, who was a Mason, and all the rest of them. And they have fought against the time when people would understand the serpents among us and fight against the serpent people and its kind to restore again to a man, to earth, and to our solar system. This fight has never ended. From the garden where the serpent was relegated,
never ended.
One who made Eve eat an apple, misunderstanding that this was three races separated from the underworld, the overworld, and the place in between, the surface of earth. relegated to fairy tales that children only believe, and now many Christians do. I am not denouncing Christianity. I am a minister of the Christian faith. I'm saying it's time for foolishness to go and for adulthood to come. Simply, this emblematic piece of magical parchment was a reminder of what has happened on our planet and what could happen on our planet if we fail to follow the upward path.
Right, Chanel.
Excuses for an adult are laborious. An adult is supposed to know right from wrong, or the adult should remain a child. Wisdom does not seemingly come with age. For we found again that some adults here have forgotten what they knew innately as children, those born of woman.
Gratitude, Blackfoot.
We're finding here now that we can find billions of dollars to spend on how to destroy certain DNA molecules, certain DNA fibers, split again all of the fibers and strands of DNA, and hate people just because the people are supposedly too simplistic. And yet, in our wonderful technology of super sophistication, we poison the atmosphere, we poison the land, we poison the water, we kill off animal species, we disregard religions, we persecute, and in a power madness, instead of attacking those that are strong, they always attack the weaker. That really shows a lot of power, doesn't it? To attack those who can't attack you back. But understand, if there is a creator, and we are only borrowing the classroom of earth for a certain time, hoping to graduate or fail, then we're playing very, very, very funny with the dean of students, who may report us to the president of the college, who may report us to the board, who may see that we get expelled or shunted away from this planet. It's been done before. And if any of the abductions that are happening, those lizards are back claiming their own once more. Let me deal with that, something that a lot of people want to skirt. And I can only tell you how my research has found a truth. There is no truth till you decide what truth is. But you must find your own truth. But I will give you things that may lead to an inflection or to a way of helping you form that truth. We're hearing on radio, we're seeing on television, we're seeing in the movies about what is called abductions. And it's said to be done by what are called aliens. I went through a definition earlier about what I consider alien versus an extraterrestrial. These alien abductions are said to be interesting, where they happen on different levels. On some levels, supposedly the person is taken and implanted, either right here, the bridge of the nose, or the medulla stem, where the medulla, again, it's a 32nd vertebra. And there, supposedly, is implants. Things that if they remove, the person dies. They can't remove them. There have been many reports of cadavers, again, when the surgeons have to go in there for autopsy, where they've seen these things implanted in there. And at the time they were finding them in the 50s and 60s, that technology in micro-miniaturization did not exist knowingly within the United States august allopathic society. They're finding people who are implanted and seemingly are told or instructed on the subconscious level, right brain, to do certain things, and then they forget what it is that they're supposed to do. But yet they feel under hypnosis that at a certain time this will resurface. And under deep regression, hypnotic drugs and very excellent facilitators, they can't crack through on some of these people, and when they have, they've died. A few have been able to remember just parts of their kidnapping, or they like to call it abduction, and what was done to them, and they shake in fear, and they hear about little graves, which are really called the Bafath people. The Bafath are from Betelgeuse. They've been around for a long time. They hear about the hook-nosed graves that came around in the 16th century from Upper Bulgaria, the Caucasoid Mountains and the Carpathian Seas, and so the Carpathian Mountains. They hear again about the dracons, or the reptiles or serpent people that seem to be in the shadows behind them. Even in the book by Whitley Scriber, even in some of the movies that you see, they always show you this reptilian form in the back, and even then they don't define what this reptilian form is. Why are they still hiding from you even when truth is being released? Because snake is a snake, and any reptile by any other name is still a snake. They still hiss, and they still hate humanoids. I have no fear of them because the Father that I serve saw through their backward creation, and they will suffer much more than I will ever suffer. But the point is, again, they even have a time now to make a change. And even they are still using other people to carry out their vindictive vendetta. They're using the great people, the people from Deities, who have been cloned almost 6 different times. They can't absorb, they have no souls, they're about to go out of existence. And you want to know, can you go out of this universe backwards? Yes, you can go out of this cosmos backwards. If you fall far enough away from the creator's mentality, from the mind flow of the higher vibrations. These people seemingly made a deal with some of the world powers, power mad as they were. They already had all the money. They printed all the money they need, but that was not enough. They wanted technology that these little grays, these little viruses, coming to a condemned, intoxicated planet could bring. So they seemingly made a deal in Russia with one source of them, and then they came and they lied and told the United States, well, we would make a deal with anybody else. If we serve you, we serve man. Almost like that movie, We Serve Man, a good culinary dish. So they said, well, we'll serve you, and all we'll ask is just one little thing. From time to time, we're going to take away some of your citizens. We're going to make them better because we're going to implant them. And plus, we've tagged them like you tag your animals now anyway. And we want to follow on this developing experiment, which has been going on now for literally 1 million years. And in turn, we will give you some of the best technology to help you go forward, to be able to hold it against your enemies and be able to make them tremble before you. And plus, just to let you get into what is called free space and teach you how to move from planet to planet. Well, the power mad people bought it. Then they found out that they were supposed to report ahead of time the names of the people they were abducting so they could make, cover up for it again, per se, the missing time, if you would. But then they found they were abducting lots of people they weren't reporting, and some of the people weren't coming back. Then they found that when you make a deal with Shaitan, that sometimes Shaitan doesn't really have to hold homage to you. No clause in there that he has to respect, because he's not, again, of the same court system.
Wow.
Sometimes I get kind of sick of my humor, but
I wonder if Shaitan is part of the
people
nucleus.
that I'm seeing people worship and idolize. So I think I can be a little bit neurotic if they're already psychotic. In looking at this setup and an understanding a little bit that I do of Earth history, I say that they could have used the previous past history. That deal has never worked yet, especially since they believe in the devil, and many of them do, and in the supreme being called a God, and Jesus, and many of the other avatars, and they go to churches and profess to. Most of these politicians will show up in church simply because they want you to vote for them. But obviously they don't believe in the tenets of their religion, or they would not do what they did because they would know they can't get away with it. So obviously they're hypocrites.
Yep.
And like all hypocritical people, they have weaknesses. They then said, well, we've got a deal here, and we're not able to control it too well. NASA, I got a problem. Interpol, I got a big problem. We need help. So they took their best scholarly minds from 13 countries and every state in the United States that had an advanced genius or intellect. They put them together under what they call the Jason Scholars. First under MJ32, then MJ12. The best they came up with a plot to blow up Titan and genetically alter and genetically erase certain species on Earth that they thought that they didn't like. That's the best thing they could come up with. They came up with a lot of other thoughts and consciousnesses, but they exacted those too. When it came down to what they could do with the alien scourge here that seemingly lives 30 miles down inside our Earth, not only at Dulce, at an Area 51, at Lackland, at Edwards Air Force Base, at Lower Saskatchewan, and many other places. But they said that maybe we can do something with them. So they invented a scroll bomb, a bomb that could be launched and shot down into the earth. Many of you saw the movie where they launched a missile that bored into the earth. Later on, it exploded a magma layer, and we had almost the end of the earth. I forget what that movie was. It's the same kind of principle. They wanted something that could bore itself into the earth, explode on the level where they knew that many of these aliens had taken where they were living, and supposedly implode there and destroy them. Well, they found out that the kind of technology that these people had, even with this is such a bomb, but it caused many of our earth tremors and began to form, again, pockets of gas throughout what is called our underground tunnel system that began to affect everybody on Earth and hasten the day of whatever was coming anyway, which I'm going to wind up with tonight. They found that when in Dulce, New Mexico, in a lab that goes 13 stories underground, this was at least 8 years ago, I don't know how far it goes now, where aliens and United States technicians and world technicians were working together on very horrendous projects, and some not so horrendous, but far from the technology that we now manifest through our various divisions of industrial might, if you would, you know, the North American and Northern Telecom and AT&T and things like this. These projects were far past all of that. They got tired of it one side, did these, what was left of human feeling beings.
What up, Sean Phillips?
And they formed with their Delta Force, supposedly a kill group that was going to take out these aliens in 6 minutes. In 32 seconds, they were all dead. Not the aliens. Where they found out that they used mental blocking telepathy, and the men turned the guns on themselves. They turned whatever weapon they had on themselves. And not only that, but they could get in to make the blood boil within the person till they almost exploded, almost like you see in scanners.
Oh, my goodness.
You see, the movies are telling us the truth. The screenwriters are definitely relaying from books of things that should be shown, but we're not believing what they say, even though we believe the movie. I don't think we fully yet, as a race of people of varying degrees on this planet, what time it is. I think we think it's still the 17th or 18th century. I think that we think that there is no police force that is universal. I think that we actually have believed the press clippings that we are the gods. That we can destroy a planet or do anything we want to, and nothing's going to happen to us because we are the gods. Well, some people can get just that way out. Now, they have found
It's almost over.
that there seems to have been a civilization on Mars that still exists inside. That there seems to be civilizations that can exist coincided with us, not only on parallel universes, but simply separated by the rates of vibration. That interdimensionalness.
I remember that movie. I don't remember what it was, though, Sean.
And then you find yourself an entirely different life form existence. That we're delicately balanced by the Almighty Creator, believe in Him or her or not. And that if you begin without permission to interfere with that delicate balance, you pay the piper. You pay the penalty. Many people who have power made a pact with these little viruses, which are called the little grays, not understanding that they served another master. That master was very negative to what was created in the solar system in the form of the planet Saros, John, Terra, Earth. That to hold this planet back with the various experiments that went on here and the various life forms that have been genetically mutated here to see the species could interface and live in peace if they had souls, was to set up a call for the gods to come back, the gods that had first seen that Earth was worth all the tears and all of the planning that have been done to set us in this system, which was supposed to be part of Sirius. Yeah. The Pleiadians in Orion, serving again a reptile master through what is called the Unholy Six, sought to use mind control to stop the great experiment that was on, in, and around the planet Earth. And they felt that since this could be a place of double promotion and triple promotion, a place of advanced concepts where people could become gods almost overnight. In other words, 500 years is nothing in the eyes of the time of the Creator. That if they could interfere with this great experiment, if they could do something to hold it back, that the negative force of the tree of life, the Kabbalah that they served, could set forth more demons in a backward way away from the Creator. And so they set, first of all, with the power mad, with those who were not content with being in balance with self, to see if they could deviate them to have them. And seemingly they were successful. But now the tide has turned. At the end of 1959, our sun changed from a step-down transformer to a direct emitter. It took energy from the various big cosmic suns and relayed it directly to Earth instead of stepping it down for the Earth people. It made the vibrations here and the electromagnetic fields of Earth here change. One of the things that the Dracon or Serpent people had done was to set up an electrical field around Earth, which had at one time only a magnetic field. This electrical field causes us to pulse in and out, to vary our frequencies, and to fall lower in vibration from time to time than we should. All machinery that uses electricity uses, as Tesla pointed out, a variable current, highs and lows, alternating current. And the alternations of which, when it is low on the electrical spectrum, cause us to fall from the higher type of energies that we really want. A true magnetic field keeps you stable, keeps a static, not oscillating wave, and lets people begin to mature and progress. How they did it, I won't go into that, but it's not that hard. But they did, if you understand electromagnetics. Now, our sun, since 1959, is putting forth energy from Arcturus and Procyon and Alcyon and all the star systems behind it, and relaying the energy directly from Havana, the central universe, directly to us. And now it means the magnetic field of Earth is restabilizing. New energies are flowing into Earth at an unprecedented degree. Background radiation, which is called by the so-called geophysicists and astrophysics, is streaming into Earth. Ultraviolet rays and X-rays that can mutate, anode and cathode ray bombardment that can alter things, are stepping up, and cells are mutating. That's bad, because it can also cause what we call the plagues to come upon us. But also good is making us remember, if we have souls, who we were, why we were, and where we were supposed to be going. It's revving up old latent DNA and RNA matter in that right brain. Laconically, we have been taught only left brain utilization. If you can't feel it, touch it, be it, it doesn't exist. Therefore, air doesn't exist. Therefore, spirit doesn't exist. And some of these godless people have bought that foolishness. Since some haven't, the planet is going to be turned over to those that still believe in a spiritual being and can match those frequencies by altering their brain waves and later on their physical apparatus. That sun is putting out energy that is causing what is called by the geneticists jump DNA, and the Creator never made jump. To recompetent and reunite. It's causing people to become now more psychic. Intuitive females are now becoming psychic females. Intuitive males are now becoming the gods they were supposed to become. A god is only a person with more powers than the average person around them in a humanoid fleshly body. But the mind has been altered. The spirit and the soul are vibrating high. Animals feel this, sense this, and they can communicate with them. They can begin to read people. They can begin to understand negative vibrations from positive vibrations, and they can begin to alter their own genetic system. Therefore, their immune system becomes secretive of things that can help to maintain against virulence, viruses, and bacteria. Inventions are then made during this time to sustain people, even against the plague of AIDS, candidiasis, and so. The molecular structure of the air changes again from ozone, which shows that there is always something wrong and imbalanced there, to pure oxygen, which kills off any anaerobic bacteria, which all of these viruses fall under the heading of. They're anaerobic. It's just that simple.
You do, Janae.
Raise your vibrations in your blood, take in the new vibrations, and all those things that are not in the Creator's path, not on the Creator's vibrations, cease to exist, including human forms. Viruses always are the first to go. But before they go, in that little codicil between one vibration and another, they always manifest the most, and this is why the plagues are back. Some of these warp-minded genetic scientists think that they are creating them. They're given the power to create or to fulfill prophecy. And they will fall victims of their own Frankenstein monster. In terminating and in turning over to Q's and A's from you, let me just say, in Chicago yesterday,
Kenya.
people saw a double moon. Some people saw 4 moons in the sky.
Miss Sanders.
Now, I don't know if it's made the press here or not. It was all over.
It's almost over.
Whether or not the press even reported it.
About to get up and
in the Six-Day War, Egyptian tankers climbed out of their tanks and surrendered to 6 Israeli tanks and some deep-mounted 50-caliber machine guns, and nobody could understand why. Holograms are now being used to bring about and fulfill prophecy. I repeat, holograms are being used, will be used now to deceive people even fuller. At the same time, when the universe through the cosmos and the Creator is actually changing. People will now feel and see prophecy being fulfilled, but it will only be government holograms. Whatever a religious denomination wants to see, if there's enough people, they will give a soul a chance to migrate.
That was deep. That was deep. That was deep. I show gratitude for all of y'all being here for these 3 hours, sticking it in there. And I love y'all. Genuinely. If you didn't catch it out, you can rewind. Check out Dr. Frances Welsing. Her ISIS papers. I just seen an orb fly past my forehead. You know, that's Dr. Delbert Blair. You can check out Bobby Hemmett. Phil Valentine. I feel like they all have something to offer, even if I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say or teach. I believe they all have something very valuable and beautiful to offer. You know, so I would say check them out. Um, uh, Even when you're listening to certain things from Dr. Umar Johnson, Billy Carson, like these people have a lot to offer. And I would say, you know, check them out. You know, right. She gonna be flying around and shit. But anyway, I love y'all too. Show gratitude for being here. Um, it was a great discussion, a great talk, a great build. And we'll come back to the table again, y'all. Peace. I'm about to find something else to play while I move around and clean up.